I think it's good. Welcome, welcome. Tonight, we'll be playing more Trails in the Sky. Oh, that's loud. Second chapter. So, man, I'm a little tired tonight, but I do want to finish chapter 4. That's music. Load. So, we're roughly halfway through chapter 4, I think. Roughly. I actually have some side stuff I have to knock out real fast. So we'll go ahead and do that real fast. I have, I believe, some bosses. These highway monster, Gulch Main Road monsters, and west fishing spot. We'll head to Gurune Gate then. Which I believe, yeah, that's the border to. Oh, we're actually just going straight back. Okay, I guess we have to get the rest of the party first. So long. I hope I didn't miss out doing these quests. So, just as a quick recap, last time, we found out the truth of Ren, the little girl. She is in fact an enforcer of Ouroboros. And now, we are back in Roland, Estelle's hometown. Everything has been covered by a mysterious mist. The other thing, too... Okay, we are actually just going back to the guild house. The other thing, too, is that people are going unconscious in the city of Roland. There have been reports of a woman in a black robe wandering around, and the one thing that is consistent amongst the people who have gone unconscious is the fact that they all hear a bell ring, like a small jingling bell right before they fall unconscious. We went to Bright Household for the night to rest up while Olivier, Agate, and not Joshua, Zin stayed here and patrolled in the guild. Here to see what happens next. Morning. Good morning. Ah, good morning. There you are. You slept well last night, I hope? Yeah, thanks. Definitely recharged my batteries. While not necessary, the extra rest was appreciated. Thanks, you too. The night patrol wasn't too rough, I hope. Thank you for doing that. Not at all. We slept in shifts, so we're fine. Of course, there's one of us still passed out at the hotel. I'm guessing you mean Olivier. Whoa, so he really did do his part last night. That he did. He wouldn't stop complaining, but I think some of it was just for show. He did his job well. We'll be sure to thank him later then. So, what's the situation? Did anything happen overnight? The night patrol may have been a good idea, because we've heard no news reports of people collapsing. But it's as we feared. All of yesterday's victims are still out cold, and still completely unresponsive. Oh man. That's awful. Also, do we know any of the changes to the fog? I swear it's thicker than it was yesterday, but at this point I'm not sure I trust myself to make a judgment. No, it's definitely getting thicker. Not only that, but we do have reports of the size of the cloud expanding as well. The entirety of the Malga Trail is now blanketed, all the way to the mine entrance apparently. Really? Crap. If this gets much worse, keeping people safe will be impossible. Well, it's not all bad news. Between the reports from us and others, the Royal Army's agreed to dispatch 2 full squads here. They'll take over the defense of the city proper. Really? Sweet. Yes, they'll be coming from Bose over the VOD bridge. That'll be a relief. The army can take care of this city, that leaves us free to investigate the entire region. Right on. This gives us a chance we need to find that Ouroboros clan barrier. My guess is that our suspect must be concealing herself in the region's more remote areas, but that gives us a huge amount of ground to cover. Yeah, Roland as a region isn't that big, but just the 7 of us can't search the whole thing with a fine-tooth comb. I wonder if there's anything specific we should do. Well, on that note, how about I press gang you into helping with the evacuation of civilians of the city? Evacuating? It seems all but certain that the comas occur within the fog, and now the fog's reach is growing. Like I said, we received word earlier that it's reached the Amalgam Mine, and it's also reached the Perzel Farm. The Perzel Farm too now? I see. So we need to bring the Perzels and the miners back into the city, where the army unit can keep them safe then. Yes, you can consider it a guild-assigned mission, pay and all. Think you could do that before you go looking for them? Keeping the civvy safe does take priority, I guess. As I remember, the mine is some distance from the city, yes? And it sounds like the same is true of his Perzel Farm. If that's the case, it'd be wise to split into 2 groups. We needn't take all 7 of us to one location. As much as I'm sure Will and Cher Perzel would love to see a small army of bracers show up their door, I agree. Well, speaking of which, can we go to the farm then? It's run by the family of an old friend. Ah, I see. Agate, Olivier, and I will evacuate the mine then. Yeah, sounds like a plan. Come on, let's go haul Blondie out of bed. Speaking of Blondie, haul me out of bed? What cruel summoning is this? Ah, you're awake. Why are you shoving your loot? Ah, my rose, but the weather casts a pall on men's hearts this day. I thought to perhaps brighten the mood with a lovely serenade. Consider it a ray of sunshine, piercing through the gloom courtesy of Olivier Lenheim. How the hell can you be so cheery so early? It does sound like you're actually doing your part out there, though. I'll admit, you can be a good guy when you want to be, Olivier. Indeed, well done. Haha, I merely did my duty as a gentleman and defender of love. To be honest, I had thought about stopping by Estelle's home while I was on patrol for a visit. The fog was so thick I could barely even find the city gate. It was a tragedy, I tell you. Seriously? Just when I was reversing my opinion of you? Let me get Olivier up to speed. A very bracer-like mission, hmm? Very well. Allow me to help. Come, let us away to the farm with the fair lady. We said you're coming with us. The hell, are you getting it wrong on purpose at this point? Oh, I did not realize you wanted me so badly, Agate. Why, if you keep being that forceful, you'll scare me away, my lover. Okay, hang on, I am not your... What? Lover? I didn't know you were... Dina, don't listen to a word he says, okay? And well, so much for any hope of taking this job seriously. It's better than being too serious. Sorry, Louis cracks me the fuck up. Anyway, if we've fulfilled our tomfoolery quotient for the day, we should really get to work. Yeah, we should. Really. We're off to the mine then. Farewell for now, fair ladies. And there they go. Right, so we should get to the Perzel farm on the double. After you, Estelle. Hey, Estelle, you said a friend of yours lives there, right? Uh-huh. She's an old friend from Sunday school named Tio Perzel. Let's just say Pretzel. She lives up there with the rest of her family. Her grandfather, Franz, her grandmother, Hannah, and her twin siblings, Will and Cher. We will be escorting minors, or not counting Tita, since she's armed. We'll have to stay alert on this one. We'll also be escorting a Salamanius! Oh, I'm old. Oh. I'm unk. I'm unk as fuck. Oh, we're off, Ina. Good luck out there. Oh god, please don't let there be any more. I missed the cat. Oh no, not the cat. Stop holding. I'm alright. I am a little tired after today, but I do want to see the end of this chapter at the very least, so the stream probably won't be too long. He said. He always says the stream's never too long. And he goes way beyond what he expected to. Oh. Speed boost. So they missed. He missed and Roland has expanded. Oh, I'm on the wrong way. Here's the boss. The area boss. Try and get this fast. I do want the BP. I already missed a quest, so that's fine. It shouldn't break me. And boom.
Seems you came up.
Okay, that's one boss down. Not to Garuda Gate. There's someone here I need to speak to. I don't remember where they are. What does the thing say? Fishing spot. There we go. Ah, the stupid cat. This quest, I missed the window. It's between the time you come home from the Bright Household to the fucking Guild House. That's when you gotta do it. Okay, fishing spot. Okay, so Percy. We're looking for Percy. Actually, these guys are not named. I have to actually speak to them to know their names. Percy. It's Andon. Percy. Robin. Percy. 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 Yes. So boring. Can I have a moment? What's up? We're from the guild. Are you Percy, the guy who posted a request? Hey, you bet. Thank goodness you're here. Well, first, we'd like to hear the details of the request. I think it's just finding fishing spots. From what you posted on the bulletin board, it seems you want some kind of investigation, yes? Yeah, actually, I'd like to ask you to search out the fishing spots in Roland. There's one at the Bright Household. I can explain the nitty-gritty if you're up for it. So how about it? Will you do it? Yes. Shouldn't be a problem. You can leave it to us. Thank you. Yep, bracers really are the ones to call when you're in need. Why are you looking for fishing spots? Even going so far as to spend Mira on it. Well, actually, I'm a member of the Fisherman's Guild. We plan on holding a fishing class soon, you see. I'm here doing a bit of fishing reconnaissance in Roland, which is the candidate location for the class. Ooh, a fishing class. I'd kind of like to learn too. It's a good plan, right? It went over really well in the capital, so I'm sure the next one will be an even bigger hit. Various place in the first scene, so close to see it 2D. Yeah, they did a really good job, like going from this 2D to the 3D version. It's like, it's almost one for one. Really, I'd like to do the looking out myself, but unfortunately we're stuck in this fog. That's why I decided to ask the pros. I see. I think we understand the point of the investigation. But what should we be looking for specifically? I want you to pinpoint locations of the fishing spots. Places where you can pull up a fish, basically. That's what I want you to report. Thank you for telling me what a fishing spot is. So, Find some good-looking water and fish up a fish, and that'll be good. Yeah, exactly. Oh, you seem pretty happy about it. You into fishing? Yeah, a bit. I didn't think I'd be able to fish on a job, though. I see, we got comrades even in the bracers. Our glorious fishing revolution gained strength. I might not actually finish this quest, but I know where one is. Well then, maybe this is a break in your normal work schedule. Ultimately, fishing is a fun hobby after all. Well, I intend to complete the mission as thoroughly as I would any job, but I appreciate you saying that. Well, time to have a think about where it might be a good spot then. Once we've gone over everything, we'll be back to report. Thanks. Be careful out there. I'll try and find them. I know where one is, at the very least. Off the top of my little head. There might be one to say, I don't remember. There's no map here, of course. Strange monster. Like wind unicorns. Wind unicorn seals. They're called picorns, I guess.
Oh, are we done all?
Okay, there's a river here. Somewhere in this forest. Interestingly enough, this forest is actually... You have no reason to come here in the first game. I don't think you can come here in the original first game, but in the remake, you can actually come into this forest. It's completely modeled and all, but there's nothing to do here other than... I think there's a chest. There's some chests you can get. Oh, how I wish I had Olivier, because he has his cloak. Okay, I think there's a fishing spot here somewhere. I'm gonna get hit. Easy, easy. Hope there's a fishing spot here. The other ones at the Bright households. Having good feelings about this one. There's chest with no fishing spot. Huh? Wait. Something wrong, Estelle? Oh, this... Okay, this is an extra scene. I'm fine, it's nothing. Wasn't there a road here? Maybe I'm just losing it. I could have sworn there was one. Strange. Would be a Japanese-made Kerala fishing minigame, yeah. It's unfortunate too. The fishing minigame in the 2D games, is not very good. It's a lot more interesting in later games, but here it's like you gotta time it to a little blip that appears over your head. Okay, I guess there's not a fishing spot here. Oh well. At least I know there is one at the Bright house. Stell's house. I could have swore there was one right here at the river. Find my way back out. It'd be so much simpler if there was a map. There's one quality of life thing I liked about the remake. Is there's lots of maps. Okay. Down this way. First I would hit something. Oh, did I hit my fucking shit? Oh, there goes that. Kill. On my way. I'm just hitting everything. I need Olivier back in my party. I need his cloak. Actually, I don't know if they automatically unequip shit when they... Hold on. I'll change everything on Tita. Look. No, Olivier's fucking got it. God. Okay. Another thing I liked in the remake is that when a character's on your party, they unequip everything, so you get to hold on to it. Use that cloak to hide from law enforcement. He already made moves on Agate. He called Agate his lover, and Tito was like, wait, he's your lover? That means you're... Here we go, here we go. Right here. Aquamaster. Oh god, I don't remember the fucking baits you're supposed to use. Different bait gets different fish, but I don't... Yeah, okay. Better with worms. There we go. It's a very strange... Okay. It's a very strange, timing. Essentially, there's 3 frames for the exclamation point that appears above Estelle's head, and you have to hit it on the middle frame. A little wonky. He's a pure heathen. Like, anything that moves to that guy needs to be locked up. They did lock him up before. They should have kept him locked up. Poor Tita. The corruptor. Okay, so next is the manga trail. Armand and Ellie's ring, if I remember correctly, is at the top of the... God, it's gonna be annoying. It's at the top of the tower. But there's also a boss that I have to kill, I believe.
Well, that takes care of that.
God. And these characters, the party follows behind whoever's leading. And if those monsters touch any of the party members behind them, it still counts as engaging the encounter. Now, I could have swore there wasn't a... You could actually attack the monsters. Is this the tower? Yeah, tower's this way. You could actually attack the monsters out of combat, and that would stun them. See, like that. But I guess that's not this game. I think that's later in the series, I guess.
Nicely done.
If it's not, it might even be later in the game to unlock something like that. But the thing too is that if you're a high enough level, it's a monster. Not a boss here. I guess not. Okay. There's a if you're high enough level, you just one shot them out of combat. They just drop all their stuff. Oh, that's right. There's no map. Okay. We're doing it the old-fashioned way. I don't care about the chests, if I'm being honest, because they're just gonna spawn more fights and gear that I don't need. Pom-poms. I want to fight the pom. I'm trying to remember my way to the top. Fourth floor. I think you have to cut through here. No. Maybe? No? Maybe? Yes? No? 4, 5? Okay. Oh, it's a chest route. God. Okay. Would be a damn chest route.
We're good to go.
Yeah. Just want to get up and shake it. No, not that way. Malcolm does not miss with their music in these games. Not in this game, and especially in East. East has some of the coolest fucking soundtracks around town. Okay, another 4, 5. That's the way. Nope. Is that a chest route? Oh, it's not. Okay, this is the right way then. Bum, 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 bum. I was waiting for you to post that, you. Okay, keyboard, yes. So, this way. There we go. That thing is glowing now. Now there's it. There he is. On a silver ring. A ring? Why would something like this be here? About that bird just now. That was a crow, I believe. A cryptic crow. Maybe. It sure looked like one, but what does... Oh. Isn't this Armand's ring? It's very, very likely. Let's head back and report. Right. Okay, so that's another side quest done. Okay, come on, camera. There we go. You have to reel in your your spouse there. Telling me the camera is starting to get to me again. That's good. Yeah, my favorite. Definitely one of those god tier emotes. Okay, come on. Not lost. Not lost. Where I'm going.
Well, that takes care of that.
I'm just taking my time. There we go. There we go. You Estelle for the AoE attacks. There's something. What the hell? There we go.
Well, that takes care of that.
There we go. This way. This way. And out. Alright. At least Estelle is the fastest. Spam this.
Nicely done.
Careful. This way. Down. Behind us in. I'm not even looking at the game, I'm just looking at the mini map because it shows the red dots. The enemies are. Okay. I can't say the month after she saw my Instagram feed. Oh no. Not like this. Oh, I should talk to Armand and Ellie, right? This way. Church. Where's the church? Oh, it's the purple building. Right. I remember. How are the Polaroids, at the very least? Are they taking it well? I want to talk to Father Divine, I want. There they are. Come closer, Ellie. I want to see nothing but your smile. You're still at it. Hmm? You're back. Did you find our ring? We found a ring that matches your description, at least. We'll need to have you identify it for us. Yep, we just need you to confirm if it's yours or not. Armand, could you take a look at this ring? Sure, I don't. Ah! That's the ring! That's it! That's our engagement ring! Seriously? Seriously? You sure? Yes, I'm absolutely sure. I cannot thank you enough for your kindness. Good to hear. This is all worthwhile. Good. That settles things then. I never dreamed we would find it in a place like that, though. Man. Yeah, I never thought we'd find your ring on the roof of the tower. Here, let me give it back to you before it ends up lost again. And over the silver ring. Thank you. I don't even know how to express how I feel right now. We never lost our faith in you. Thank you so much, heart emoji. Not at all. I'm glad we could help. Your wedding isn't too far off from now, is it? Best wishes. Thank you. Goodness, it's a little embarrassing to hear it said out loud. Don't be embarrassed, my love. For no other love has received a stronger blessing. We still have a lifetime of well wishes ahead of us. Armand. Ellie. Ah, they're off in their own little world. I think it's sweet. Anyway, it'd be rude to interrupt them, so let's excuse ourselves. Yeah, good idea. Let's go, go, go. Oh, pardon us, lovebirds. Alright, little one done. There used to be us being at odds, not a good relation. The sex is amazing. Oh man. I'll take your word for it. Oh, what's his name? Anton. How terrible. To think someone so lovely is such a secret. I can't carelessly invite her out like this. Curses. Aw, Ricky. I don't know if that lady really matches Anton's fever dream of an ideal girl. You'd get more out of watching the pigeons if you ask me. I'm serious too. Pigeons are good people. Hard to get tired watching them bird it up. Bird up. Da da da. I report this. Alrighty. The poor cat. Oh well. So the Millspring Road fishing spot search. Okay. I know. I say I know for a fact, but I'm pretty sure there's a fishing spot this way too. Because there's a little pond up in the north, yeah. I still gotta find that boss monster. Here it is. Okay. I think earthworms, now that I think about it, I think the earthworms will pick up anything. carp. A carp. Okay. Bird up. Doo doo doo. Oh hey. Fucking love it here, Condre. When he's on the subway with the fucking bowl of Cheerios in his cone on his head. He's like, eat for me. Drink for me. Someone call Kellogg's. Who's... Ben, halt. Mr. Ashton, hi. It's really been a while. It has indeed, Estelle. You too, Sherazard. You're on some guild work, I take it. Yeah, we are. You see... Wait. What's coming to guard Roland? Is that... Yes, it's us. We'll be protecting the city, along with reinforcements of the Haunted Gate. I see. Thank you, sir. Not at all. The duty of the Royal Army is to protect Her Majesty's subjects. How is Roland looking? Well, the fog's getting thicker, but there haven't been any new coma cases. Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Ashton. Yes, about Luke. From what I've been told, he simply isn't waking up. There's no threat to his health otherwise. You don't need to avoid the topic for my sake. But right now, we will need to focus on our jobs. I suspect that's the best way we can help save Luke. Mr. Ashton. That's very true. Ashton, please take care of the city for us. Absolutely. Give it to us. Ben, listen up. Roland is directly ahead. I want patrol teams to begin their rounds the instant our boots hit the pavement. Is that clear? Yes, sir. There they go. He asked people if they mind if he hits the ranch ass. Score some Cherokee chicks on the trail operators. Bird up. Doo-doo-doo. Mr. Ashton is Luke's father. I'm sure he's really beside himself with worry, but he's trying not to show it. He seems like a very strong kind of man. He is. We'll have to do our best too. Come on, Prizzle Farm isn't too far ahead, if I remember correctly. God, now it's fucking stuck in my head. Time to deliver a pizza ball. Time to deliver a pizza ball. There's a boss somewhere in this area. I'm pretty sure I had to kill it. Chest, I don't want that. Where's this boss? I'd even be in the previous area. Not here, okay. What about this area? Nope. Side, scanning, careful not to get hit. These plants are enormous. Oh, there he is, on the road. The Yeti thing. Does she have... No, she doesn't have... I need Olivier, man. He just has so much good spells. Alright. Up here. I'm gonna kill all this shit. They're called giant foots? Yeah. These Sam Squinches. You know what the description says. The monsters into existence before the Great Collapse. If it gets angry, watch out. We'll see about that. There we go. Okay, that's a boss killed. There's no other water here. Now we can go back, because the next area is the bridge. So now we go down to... farm. Prizzle Farm. The Prizzle Farm. Pretzel Farm. Tio's house. Here comes another nostalgia rush. But oh man, the fog's like soup here too. Yes, let's go explain the situation to Mr. Prizzle. I doubt even Franz would try and go and make a delivery out in this mess. I hope, anyway. Well, knowing Mr. Prizzle, I don't know. What's that sound? The bell. That was... No. Shara! Come on. the heck are these? Monsters made out of fog. What? No time for debate. Take them down. What are they called? Alraunes. Monster born from the fog. Weapon hits almost never hit. Can emit poison gas. Ah, this is the arts fight. Okay, this is a magic fight. Now, typically, they're actually weak to earth. Typically, these kinds of fights don't pop up often, but this is how they start showing this mechanic where some monsters are absolutely immune to physical or magic, so you have to use specific attacks to kill them. We want to use Stone Hammer. Isn't that a guitar? Ah, still confused. Oh well. This one down. I don't think Shira has it, so we have to use Shadow Magic. Or, I'm sorry, Time Magic. Okay. Stone, that should be the enemy. Ah, you were confused too then. Okay, we got it.
Nicely done.
Did we beat them? Yes, but there is simply a roadblock. We need to find the Perzils now. Right. Perzils. Open up. The door is locked. Why is it locked? Let's look for another way in. There's a door here. Go. No one in here. No one in here. No one in here. Oh no, not at the dinner table. No. Want to see another good emote? Oh hell yeah, show me your emotes. Mr. Perzel. Share, Will. Mrs. Perzel, Tio. No, no. They're dead. They're not dead, they're just asleep. I'm sorry, Estelle. They're all asleep. There's a 6-7. Oh my god, okay. I asked for that. The ones over here are too. No. We failed. Again. Estelle. I'm sorry. They've all been 6-7'd. Straight to La La Land. Damn it all. Looks like whoever's doing this knew that what we were planning. That woman in black? There's no doubt in my mind. Estelle, let's carry them to bed. Can you show us where their rooms are? Yeah. Right. They're in bed at least. I wish I had some idea what to do now, though. Estelle, I know this is a shock, but you must put it aside. If you can't, you won't be able to help them. But it's all because I'm no good at this. I'm not even half the bracer my father is. I put everyone in so much danger because I'm useless. Damn it. Damn it. I have acted all strong and confident. But it's all just an act. How am I supposed to fix something like this? Estelle. Oh! Slapped her shit. I mean, everybody's gonna slap in these games. Huh? Charizard. Estelle. We're all a pack of fools, Estelle. I make mistakes constantly myself, but that doesn't mean I'm going to give up. Agate, Sid, and yes, even Cassius. We all do what we can, even as we're painfully aware of our own shortcomings. Even Dad? I wonder, do you remember how Cassius didn't make it in time when your mother died? He's never forgiven himself for that, but he still overcame it to walk the path of a bracer. He never stopped moving forward and always did what he could to protect the people most important to him. Even in the army, he's still striding forward day by day, even if he's uncertain. So Estelle, what will you do? You don't need to overthink it. Just go with what your feelings deep inside tell you. I don't really have an answer, but I want to keep moving forward. To protect the people important to me. Even if I'm an idiot right now, I can't stop just because I screwed up. That's the spirit. That's my Estelle. Sorry, Shara. Guess I'm just an annoying little sister, huh? Don't worry, honey. Besides, the bigger the pain the kid is, the cuter they are when they're all grown up. Hee. Oh. Ooh. Sorry, you two. I didn't mean to make a big scene or anything. I was a bit surprised, but I never realized how close you and Shara are, Estelle. I'm kind of jealous now. It was inspiring to watch, actually. Aw, hey. But Shara, really, what do we do? We need to get back to the guild house, but I can't just leave Tio and everyone like this. It is a problem. One of us is going to have to stay here, but... No worries, I got that covered. Oh, look who it is! Mr. Wandering Priest. What? Is that? Hello, ladies! It's Kevin. Remember? Priest, Scrawlswitter, Mad Heroism. And we just met in Gransel. I was expecting to see you again. Hand of 80 was at work, I tell you. What are you doing here, Kevin? Ah, well, it's pretty simple. Last night, we got a panic report about fog, illness, and possibly the end of the world from Father Divine. So, in my capacity as one of the Growlswitter, I decided to pop on over and see what was what. Wasn't quite expecting to have to hack my way through monster-infested foggy roads. I only got here late this morning. When I checked in at the local Bracer Guild, I heard Estelle's team was over here working, so... Okay, I think I get the idea. Meaning the Hand of Adios wasn't involved at all and you're being a creepy stalker again. No, what gave you that idea? Putting that aside, what do you mean when you say no worries? Oh, right. Well, I did overhear you guys talked about staying behind. You all go back. I got this covered. Huh? Are you sure, Father? Hey, this sort of thing is part of a priest's job. I do have some medical training, so leave your friends to me. Thank you, Father Graham. I'm definitely willing to chalk this one in the Divine Providence column at this point. It's such a shame. I think you get 5 animated slots. But I think using 4 of them for that is well worth it. Look at them. Even the fact that the top 2 are just slightly ahead of the bottom 2 just makes it even better. Alright, let's get back to Roland. Okay. Kevin, please take care of everyone. Leave it to me. Kevin's a pretty cool guy, isn't he? Alright. I don't think there's a pond here that I can fish at, so... I hope I can hand it in with just 2. Try and stay on the roads here because I can actually see where I'm going. Got the one at the pond to the north. Just a random guess. I don't recognize him. And he's in. Ah, the boys. And no music. Hey, finally back. How'd it go? I did not think it would take that long. It went well. A lot happened. Again, the top half being slightly disjointed from the bottom half makes it even funnier. Again, have you guys already been to the mine? Oh yeah, that was a bilk run. They were contacted ahead of time. They were ready to move pretty much the instant we arrived. We got back real quick, too. We were, however, attacked by bizarre monsters on the way back. We were just discussing them with Ida. Weird monsters. Yes, things which appeared from the fog and melted back into it upon defeat. Fog beasts, one could say. That's like... just the same as the ones we fought. They showed up at the farm, too? Figures. You guys get hurt? Well, we're okay, but... look can't mean anything good. Sounds like something happened. You give us a report. Of course. There's already explained what transpired at the farm. I see. Damn, just a moment too late. The fault lies with me. I like that one. He's rocking on that keyboard. If we got in there a bit faster, we'd have apprehended the suspect. No, it's my fault really, Shara. I'm the one who wasn't able to get it together fast enough. I don't think anyone's to blame, really. The sound of things, it seems like you were lured into a trap. A trap? Yeah, think about it. You heard the sound of a bell the moment you stepped into the farm. The fog beasts are waiting for you, and the front door was locked. It sounds as though it was set up so that you couldn't make it in time. Wait, you think it was deliberate? Like finding Tio and everything? Quite. In fact, when combined with the coma cases we know so far, I'd say our woman in black is very clever. She specifically moved ahead of you to put people you knew and wanted to protect to sleep. It seems we really are being taunted now. I guess. It's so weird though. I have no idea what this woman could be. And I mean, I'm upset and kind of scared, but she hasn't really taunted us the same way the others did. Or has she? Yo, I'm back. Ah, the other bracer. Ridge? Oh, Ridge, you were escorting that group to Gransel. Yeah, I left Gransel this morning and just got back. Man, what the heck's going on? The fog's getting thicker and now there are soldiers patrolling the city. Quite a bit has happened since last night. Ida and the team explained events to Ridge. It's like I missed a lot. Guess I picked a bad time to take a hike. Sorry. It's okay. With the passenger ship stopped, we gotta keep travelers safe too. And we hardly have time to take those kinds of jobs ourselves. Thank you for your help on that front, Ridge. Yeah, no problem. So, hey, back up a step. You said something about the sound of a bell, right? That's like something you heard from the fog, yeah? Yes, that's about right. We don't know why it's being rung, though. Huh. Ridge? It looks like this, rings a bell, if you'll forgive the expression. Kinda. Thing is, I was coming up the Elise Highway just now, right? I could have sworn I heard the sound of a bell as I was passing along. What? Ridge, where exactly did you hear it? This could be vital. Oh man, look at these. Oh, the jellyfish dance one is, that's a good one. And the peppy punch. The jellyfish one, that's a keeper. That's a keeper right there. Give me a sec. I think it was just after I left the Garuna Gate. It must have come from inside Mistwald. Mistwald? That's the forest to the southeast of the city, yes? At first I thought there might be someone there, so I called out in the direction of the sound. I didn't get any answer though, so I figured it must have imagined it, until you mentioned it. I wonder if it was rung intentionally, knowing this report would reach us. In other words, a taunt. Sunset. Shara, what do you think? This is so obviously a trap they may as well hang a sign on it, but we've got no choice but to leap into it anyway. This is a taunt we'll have to answer. Please form your party. Okay, yes, perfect. So we definitely want Olivia.
All right, please.
Shira's in the party. We'll take Agate as well.
Let's do it.
For peak physical damage. Okay, let's hand this stuff in. Maybe more. Okay, this is in front of the tower. I remember that. This one is... Ugh, okay. And then there's the fishing spot that I have to hand in. Okay, at least this monster, I remember this monster. This monster is right in front of the tower. I don't have to run all the way to the top. And Olivier's with us now, so this should be fast. We have his cloak. Okay. Get some free BP. Here is a big fish. Like a hurricane. Now, area attack. There we go. One thing I wish the hitboxes in this game aren't. When it was still like a grid-based tactics combat, the hitboxes are not very accurate. They're much more forgiving in the 3D games and remake. Oh. I probably should just had Agate just live it and kill them all. Like that. Oh, that's why I picked him. Okay, there we go. This one. Back this way. I want my BP. Down here. back to the city. There's a monster to the west. Spawns. Ooh. There you go. Okay, now I just don't know where he spawns. Luckily we have the cloak. It's easy. Oh, okay, not in this area. Next area. No. 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 Not on the road either. There must be one more over. Oh, monster. Where are you, buddy? Somewhere. And snake movement so I can see as much of the map as I possibly can. This bastard. Do you want over again? I thought the next area is the gate. This is the gate, or yeah, what the fuck? Oh, hold on a second. Okay, he's on the north side here. It doesn't help that I don't know what he is. The boss monsters don't spawn in the chest, so chest is useless. Okay, hold on a second. That's specular. I think it was that he spawned in the farm. Didn't know bosses could spawn there. Not here, okay. Well, if I can't find him, I'll just leave it. It's not that big a deal, I guess. There's only so much map, so why isn't he spawning? Oh, here, okay. That means he's at the first one. He has to be here. Okay, not on the north side, south side, maybe? I have no idea where this monster is. Okay, well, we're not gonna kill him then. I haven't got a clue. Okay. So, that means all that's left is the fishing, but we can hand that in on the way back, so. Hand this in. And down here. We have to get to the gate first. And then we'll see... I believe this is the end of the chapter here, actually. This chapter's kind of shortish compared to the last one, compared to Ren's chapter. Okay, so Miss Walter, we're supposed to go, but we're gonna go to Grenade Gates. Alright. 8 braces, good work. Now let's see how it's going. For the state of the investigations, we got 2 fishing spots. There might be a third somewhere, but I don't know where it is. I had to pull up a guide. I see. Seems like you made some progress. But honestly, I could go a bit further. You would fucking say that. Aw. Well, still not enough, huh? Sorry, basically that. Check over everything, make sure you haven't missed anything, okay? Counting on you. Might fail this mission. Because I don't know. Sorry. I don't think you can fish in the river here. Or the river to the north. spots you can fish in the river here. Hold on. Hold? No, okay. We can't go that far. Well, Percy, I guess we'll never know where those fishing spots are. Alrighty. Mistwald. I guess it'd be Mistwald, right? This area is completely engulfed in fog, too. Damn. It was already dark and hard to see her. It'll verge on the unnavigable if we don't pay attention now. Yeah, you lose focus and you get turned around in a second. It'd be wise to keep our compass handy as we proceed. And in the remake, he'll say our maps, because I can use a map in here. So I could have swore there's a fishing spot here somewhere, but I suppose that is not the case. Oh well. No big deal. If it ends up that I'm not going to be able to get all the BP, that's fine. It's that bell. Wah! What the heck was all that? The instant that bell rang, we were engulfed in fog. No. What? Yeah. Where are we now? Damn, our surroundings are different again. We appear to have been sent somewhere else. Sure, what should we do? Calm down, Estelle. There should probably be a way out. Need to focus and find that. Right. Falcom really loves these. I don't know what it is about Falcom. They'll reuse layouts. Okay, I think you have to follow the bell sound. They really like their mist labyrinths. There's one in East. There is one in Xanadu next. I haven't actually beaten. Okay, and I think the bell is the... There we go. Wait, Shara? You get the sense the bell rings are getting louder? Yes, I'm sure of it. I believe that may be a hint. But I don't recall the layout for this particular maze labyrinth. Just keep going left. No, that one wider. That also went quieter. There we go. I feel like we've been walking in circles. What should we do? I'm certain the volume of the bell is a hint. If we could just understand the reasoning behind how it gets louder, then... Not again. Oh. Out of time, I think there's extra BP if you follow it directly to its source, but... I don't know, man. There's a lot of trial and error. We're back. This is near the Great Surveillance Tree. It seems we got lost in an illusion. An illusion? What are you hiding? Wait a minute. That's why we couldn't find the road to the Great Tree? Noticed it too, did you? The illusion was disguising it so that we couldn't see the path farther in. That. No one needs it, is there some kind of trap ahead? Let's make sure we're ready before heading forward. Good idea, Agate. Luckily, I think everyone's set. I should... Now, Mueller... Mueller last time did actually give me some issues, so I should use some healies. We do not miss this old form of healing. There we go. That'll work. Hey. Sure enough, a gospel. Mist pours from the heart of the wall like an endless tide. I suspect this is what we've been searching for. Mueller. 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 Anyone? Mueller. Yes, I get that reference. Yes. I am a certified monk. We need to remove that gospel right now. Wait, Estelle. Huh? Uh-oh. Ah, there you go. I was waiting for that. More fog monsters. They're quite a bit more powerful looking than the ones from the farm. Fine by me. Bring it. Okay, these things have to be hit by magic. Right. Don't believe... I actually have no idea if, Oh, there we go. I don't know if limit breaks can hit them.
Your fate is in my hands.
Snowman! Aww. Ooh. Okay, so the little ones are... Okay, the big ones have to be... Oh, maybe not. Okay. So they're weak to earth. What happened? As already told me, I'm shocked I'm not gonna actually read twice in the same one. Looks like that. The passage of time. It's okay. Don't worry. Don't you worry. They'll get there too. They'll get there. And then they'll join us. And then we'll see who's laughing. It won't be me. It'll be the next generation. Just immune to... Okay. Oh, that inflicts sleep. That's annoying. And they have confused too. Oh god. This could be a death state, so we need to... Go. Some smelling salts. Get up back in. Petrosphere? Let's move down. Okay. I don't think... we could try it.
You ready for this?
Kaboom! Okay, that does hurt them. Good, good. So that means... the Wheel of Time is ass. I like how her lightning is orange. Brown? No, it's like orange. There we go, one down. These things are very annoying. I don't really understand how they're taking damage. Where's my smelling salts? There you go, Olivier, sniff some of this.
Good to go.
Fireball maybe? like salts.
We're good
Go.
to go.
Unfortunately, I have no earth attacks on anybody. And they're immune to time. Okay, are they immune to... Wait, suit damage? Are they immune to this? Dark matter. They're not, okay. This is another weird fight. Oh, it's okay. Don't see resistances for time, barrage, or space magic. The yellow, black, and white ones. You don't see them yet. I think this is the first fight in this series where it actually matters.
99.
99. Thanks. Thank you, Troy Baker. Okay, almost murdered by fog, but we're still alive. Don't let your guard down. Those are just phantoms. The person who controlled them is around here somewhere. But where? You've done very well. Your efforts deserve a reward, and I shall give you the sweetest I am able. Gasp! What the? No. Sprayed with LSD. With a spritz of DMT. Huh? Ah, I remember this. This is my house? But I was in Mistwald. And when did the fog clear? Phew, that should be enough. Dad? Ah, Estelle. What's wrong? You're up early. I see now. You want to spend some time with your papa who's been gone for so long, huh? Alright then, leave him in the papa's arms, Estelle. He's ready. Don't treat me like I'm 4 years old, Dad. Aren't you busy with your army work? How'd you sneak away for time off? I mean, come on, at least tell me ahead of time. We could have matched schedules. Oh dear, this energetic so early. Oh man. Ah, Lena. I think I woke Estelle up with my log chopping. We were just getting some quality father-daughter time in. Oh really? Estelle seems a little less enthused than you though. Don't nag her too much or she'll get annoyed. What? Never. Estelle. You don't hate Papa, do you? I know I'm not home much because of my work, but remember, Estelle, Papa loves you more than anything. Wait a... Aw, it's alright. I think she's a bit shy because she hasn't seen you in so long, dear. Isn't that right, Estelle? Is that... Mom? Why, what's all this all of a sudden? Did you forget Mama's face? It's... Oh. And she shrunk. Mama, it's really Mama. Mama. Hmm? Mama! Oh goodness. Estelle, what is it? Did you have a bad dream? I don't remember much of it, but we're gone, Mama. And you couldn't come home when I was sad and... Haha. Well, don't worry. Mama's right here. And I'm not going anywhere either. I promise. Yeah. Just relax, alright, sweetie? Okay. Papa's really a bit lonely over here, you know. Oh, darling, you're still there. Ouch. Axe through my heart, Lena. Oh, come on, just joking. Here. Ah, yes. Hee. Good morning, Daddy. Oh, an excellent tackle. Alright, today Papa will play any game you want, Estelle. Really? Cassie's bride never goes back on his word. I'll play anything you want, even house. Well, then I want to go fishing. Oh, now that's my daughter. An excellent choice. Although most people think of fishing as a man's hobby. You sure you don't want to play house? Nuh-uh. I want to go fishing. It's kind of cute. The whip hobby still stays supreme though. Estelle, your dead mom's kind of got it going on. You think it's all right, Lita? It'll be fine, darling. There are plenty of ways to be feminine. No, unless you brave fishers want to go fishing for breakfast. Oh, good idea. Breakfast? Yeah. Mama, I'm really hungry. I want to eat soon, so I'll be a big girl and help. Oh, let me go put on some coffee. Thank you, you two. But first, Estelle, remember to wash your hands. It's gonna be one of those quests. Those were happy days. Sunday, Monday, happy days. Tuesday, Wednesday, happy days. Okay, now you want to talk about Ankh and being chopped? There's a reference for you. Bring in the fawns. Morning spent together as a family, whole and complete. Hey! Yeah. Playing among the trees and fields, watched over by loving parents. This is just cruel. To Estelle. Up some laundries. Helping with the chores, only when he wanted to though. And at night, falling asleep embraced by a mother's warmth. Days of happiness, with no sight or knowledge of sadness or loneliness. It was the closest one could come to bliss. Ah, it's a young Shara. Well, it's about time I head out. Estelle, I'll be back to play again in the spring, okay? Well, okay, but... You just came by to play and now you're going home already. Can't you stay another day, Shara? Well, I'd really love to, but... Everyone at the circus is waiting for me, too. Who cares about the circus? Now, Estelle, don't be selfish. You have the Instagram crying. I love it. I'm not crying. I'm not crying. I'm crying. Shara, thank you again for coming over. You always go out of your way for Estelle's sake. Nah, it's okay. I love playing with her, too. Besides, Miss Bright, your cooking is amazing. Like I'd ever miss that. Oh, don't flatter me too much. Come by to play anytime you want, Shara. I'll even treat you to some of my special reserve brandy next time. Wait, really? Sweet. Darling. I'm pretty sure Shara here is like 13 or 14. What the fuck, Cassius? It was a joke, of course. Shara, please don't take Cassius up on that offer. I don't care how much you want to try it. You're only 12. Oh, there you go. She's 12. Maybe you can have a sip or two, but absolutely nothing serious until you're an adult. Maybe a sip or two, as she says. Aw, but... Shara... yeah. Totally wait until I'm older. Like, totally. I wish someone would let me try a little, though. Mr. Harvey and Lucy don't let me have any either. That's a good thing. Trust me. Anyway, do give our regards to everyone at the circus. Invite Mr. Harvey and everyone else next time too if you wish. I'd be happy to host a barbecue in the garden. Okay, I'll be sure to tell them. Well, goodbye, Estelle. Be good. I will. Bye-bye, Shara. This is gonna hit different in the remake. It does feel lonelier somehow whenever she leaves. She did say she'll be returning in the spring. I do have some time off around then, so we'll make it a big party next time. That would be perfect. Daddy? Mommy? I want a sibling too. What? Oh, well... I mean, I only get to play with Shara sometimes, so I want a sibling I can always play with. You want, That's quite a request, Estelle. How do I... Oh, so you want a little brother or sister, sweetie? Also, hello, Cryptic Crow. Welcome, welcome. Well, you know, this is one thing we can't promise we can give you. It's up to Adios to decide when people are born. Really? Yes, you see, when the goddess decides to give parents a child, she sends a beautiful bird from the cloud tops carrying the baby. And then, often late at night, the bird delivers the baby to the mama and papa. Oh, I get it. I'll pray really hard to the goddess then. Oh, that might help too. But perhaps if you're a very good girl, Estelle, the goddess will send us one as a reward. I'll be the goodest girl ever then. You're amazing at this as always. Darling, don't act like you have no part in this. You'll have some hard work to do too after all. Oh my god, Lita. Jeez. Damn. Can't stay, just wanted to say hey, I'm at work right now, have a nice tree. Oh, well thank you, Cryptic Crow, for coming by to say hi. Have a good day at work then. You want to say when you're gonna quiet little girl? Yes, indeed. Look at Cassie. It's just happy. Damn, Cassie's really knocked it out of the park with this one, didn't he? Well, we could get to work right now if you want. Perhaps later. Right now, I need to get dinner ready. Right. Huh? Well, I'll be in the kitchen. What are you two going to be up to? What indeed? Estelle, want to go fishing with Papa again? No, I'm okay. I think I just want to play around here for a bit. Gasp! Well, I suppose I can catch up on a few things in my office. Poor thing, to be shut down by both of the women in his life. Estelle, be careful where you play, alright? Yes, don't play near the pond when you're alone. He's like, you heard earlier, she wants a sibling bed now, I guess. The bedroom. Now. Go, go, go. Okay. A sibling, huh? Oh. That's funny. My heart feels kind of weird. It's like I forgot something, somewhere. Gotta find it. What do we gotta find, Estelle? What are we looking for? I think I know what we have to find. I don't remember if there's anything else out here though, like any small scenes. Lena. Let me see, we had stew yesterday, so tonight we'll have omelets, I think. Really? Yay, Mama's omelets are the best! Oh, what's this? I don't know you like them that much. Mama and Papa like omelets too. I suppose it's one of those things you've inherited, sweetie. There's nothing else around here. I think just Cassius isn't here. What is it, Estelle? You want to play with Papa after all? Not really. I see. Daddy, what you reading? Ah, this. It's called The Great Bracer Guildhouses of Zemuria. Bracer? Yes, although this book might be a bit hard for you to understand, Estelle. I know. How about I read you a picture book like Mama does? No, not right now. Well, if you wish. If only she knew she's gonna be one of the weirdest sibling relationships ever, right? Her stepbro husbando. Bedroom. This would be Joshua's room. The door is locked. Huh? Was it this room? I don't know. Maybe I should ask Daddy. Anything else up here? I think I swear there's a way to get into the attic, but I might be misremembering games. Alright, Cassius. Hey, Daddy. What's in the room on the second floor? Ah, the one near the bedroom. That's our storage room. Storage room? Storage. Estelle, storage. It's a place where you keep things you don't use much. Like a toy chest, but bigger. You haven't been in there since how long now? Must be covered in dust and cobwebs. Oh. Where's the key to it? Yeah, other story had that kind of relation with Dexter. Joshua kind of sus. Wait. What are you gonna do in there? I want to go exploring. Well, I suppose it can't hurt. Mama keeps the key to it. Go on and ask her for it. Okay. Alright, Estelle. Where's Mama? There's the omelets. But where's the Mama? Mama? There she is. Let's see. That should be the last of the onions, and now... Mama, there you are. Oh, Estelle. Trying to sneak a bit of food already? Oh no, I got a question, Mama. Oh? Estelle explained that she was looking for the key to the storage room. Oh my, you want to explore the storage room? It's all dusty though. You'll get very dirty. Ah. Well, alright. You know the small set of drawers near Mama's bed, right? The key's in the topmost drawer. Thanks, Mama. Alright. Up here. Up here. And in here. Is this not Mama's bed? Or is Mama's bed in Cassius's room, right? Right here? There we go. So the top drawer. Here it is. Yay. Storage room key. Perfect. Time is up. Good time. The door is locked. The storage room key. Ah, this room has lots of stuff. But... This is weird. Why does my heart feel so funny? A lost memory of Joshua. Found harmonica. Wow, it's pretty. This is a music thing you blow, right? I'm gonna try playing it. Okay, I think I have to actually go into the... Yeah, right here. Harmonica. It's got a pretty sound, but it's kind of hard. But it's weird. I feel like I've heard this before. Okay, so this is like a little bit of a puzzle. I'm pretty sure you have to go onto the... Like right here. And then play it. Because this is where Joshua plays his harmonica at the beginning of the first game. Okay, so it's just on the balcony in general. Aw, I can't play it at all. This harmonica thing is hard. It seems like it should be easy, but it's way too hard. Compared to what it takes to use a staff, I think the harmonica is much easier. It's really just a matter of concentration. Huh? Overall, though, it's a great song. Cheerful, yet somehow wistful. I like your other songs too, of course, but this one's my favorite. What's it called again? Thank you. He's trying so hard to play the flute. Look at him. It was... where? She's doing it! She's getting it! Oh no, that's not it. No, it goes like this. She did it. Hey, Joshua. The Whereabouts of Light. I finally played it. Ah, that's such a lovely song. Mom. Well, I'm not really your mother, Estelle. I'm a phantom, I suppose. A memory of the Lena Bright you once knew. as I suspect you've already realized, everything that's happened until now has been a dream. Yeah, I kinda figured. Even if it is a dream, though, you're still my mom. This was maybe the happiest time of my life. A lot of people feel that way about their childhoods, Estelle. But even so, you're going, aren't you? Yeah. There are people waiting for me, and there's something really important I've got to do, so... I see. Joshua, you said. He sounds like quite a handsome young man. Oh, Mom! Look at you. You're beet red, sweetie. It's funny. I'm not truly Lena, and yet I feel peaceful. My little Estelle is all grown up and strong. She's even found true love. As a mother, I couldn't be any happier. Mom, Now, don't make that face. Didn't you remember you have something you need to do? That is the end of the dream. The way back to the waking world. Now, go on with your head held high. Yeah. I kinda want to eat your omelet again before the end, though. Really? If you want to have it, you should try making it yourself. Your omelet will probably be just as good as mine, if not better. What do you... Everything you are as a parent, your skills, your dreams, your hopes for their future, you pass down to your children, knowingly or not. Even if you never have a chance to teach them directly, everything you do, every thought and word, they carry with them as long as they live. You carry me with you, Estelle, omelet and all. Mom. Yeah, I guess I do. Mom, I'll be going then. Give my regards to your father, and to Joshua. I will, I promise. Goodbye, Mom. Goodbye, my darling Estelle. Yeah, that scene kind of... As I said before, I'm like 11 games into this series. That scene kind of hits a little different with some more context. That a lot of the scenes in this game series hits a little different with a lot more with the more context. Estelle, wake up. That doesn't spoil anything. It's just how should I say this? Probably noted that the magic is color coded when it comes to gold magic. That is it's called space magic, but it's not like outer space. It's like, I don't know. It's really weird. Shara, that's probably just caused even more confusion. Estelle, think Adios, you woke up. Yeah, it was like a really long dream. It's called space, but it also has a lot of like holy symbolism. This would typically be holy spells in other game series. Now I get it. It's because of this. Hey guys, happy dream time is over. Come on, back to reality. Similarly, white magic in this game is called Mirage. Come on, back to reality. Estelle. Ugh. Who? Estelle? How? Right. Of course that was a dream. Thank goodness, you're awake. You still surprise me sometimes, Estelle. Not only did you wake up on your own, but you woke the others as well. Now then, with that settled... You're there, aren't you? Show yourself, Luciola. A weird name. What? You have called for me at last. What? And on the flip side, black magic is called time magic. And you notice that it has a lot of like death symbolism in its casting. I knew it. It has been a very, very long time, Scheherazade. 8 years or more now, About that, yes. To think you would ever be responsible for something like this. What are you doing, Lucy? Wait, hold on. Shara, you know this person? Why, Estelle, sweetheart, that hurts. Have you forgotten me so quickly? What in the world do you mean? The nice lady who showed you all those wonderful tarot card games and read your fortune. Don't you remember? What? The guitar. But she was... No way. You're Miss Lucy? Well, that is who I was once. Oh, man. Whew. But now, my purpose is different. Now I am Enforcer number 6 to the Grandmaster of Ouroboros, Luciola, the Bewitching Belle. But why? How? I would imagine Shara has figured it out, yes? Illusion magic using a bell. Your specialty, Lucy. Nice soul. I hope you don't try to tell me the fog all over Roland is an illusion, however. No, of course not. That was a phenomenon caused by the gospel. It has worked well as a catalyst of sorts to interfere with dreams. Are you saying the gospel can affect the human mind? It seems it can. My bell was little more than a guiding hand. The gospel, the fog, and the bell together create a dream so real that illusions cannot compare. A simple, happy dream, bereft of suffering and loneliness. A dream you wish was real. The hell kind of... Dreams are not a toy for you to abuse, Pod of Ouroboros. Hey, Enforcer. Why is the Society doing all this? What are you hoping to gain with these bizarre experiments? I am but a servant, Estelle, the striking hand of the Grandmaster and the Anguis. In truth, I myself have been little more than a catalyst for this experiment. You shall have to ask the Professor or Louvet for details. The Professor? Louvet? I've heard these names again and again, but who are they? We will see when the time comes, which may not be far off now. It is ironic, though. You've met them both before. What? Lucy, may I say one thing? Oh, of course. At first, I didn't intend to stay in Liberal for long. I was simply looking for a place to run away to, really, until you came back. But now it's been 8 years. Now I have friends, companions, people I consider family. A job I'm proud of. I'm no longer the dancing girl Shara of the Harvey troupe. I am Sherazard Harvey, the Bracer. Shara. This new home of mine. I will not allow anyone to harm it. Not even you, Lucy. Good. Your spirit is as strong as ever, Sherazard. And the power of the Society grows enormous. Even more so with the power of the Gospels. If you wish to oppose us, you will need everything you have. Uh-oh. Lucy, don't fret. We shall meet again, and soon. Perhaps then we can fill in the long gaps between those lost years. Shara. How maddening. She's gotten away. We put an end to the trouble. Those slumbering should awaken soon. And the fog begins to clear. He's telling me they were just good friends. Yes, they were just good friends. Given the relationship between siblings in these games, I think that's a very warranted question. Everybody's awake. I see. What a mess this was. I'm sorry, Aina. I should have spoken to everyone about my suspicions sooner. It's not a problem, Shara. Even if we had known it was an acquaintance of yours, it sounds like it would have helped much. Just pay for my drinks next time, we'll call it even. You got it. Given the way you two drink, I'm not sure that's the best promise to make, Shara. Ugh, poor Olivier. The fog is cleared and everyone who is asleep is awoken. Great work, everyone. You actually cleared several full jobs on this one, so let me pay them all out right now. Go. Hey. I don't know. It still feels like we didn't manage a real solution to this one either. And now the gospel can mess with people's minds too. That's like pure oral fiction as far as most people are concerned, right? Yeah, that one's the hardest to explain so far. I think I need to call Grandpa or send him a letter. Well, either way, all we can do is wait for Gramps to finish picking apart the gospel he's got on hand. More to the point, I think the Society's really starting to tip their hand. Adding in this event, We do have 5 enforcers in total. Yes. Enforcer number 10, Blue Blanc, the Phantom Thief. Enforcer number 8, Walter the Direwolf. This is the guy that did the earthquakes. Enforcer number 15, Ren, the Angel of Slaughter. Whew. Enforcer number 6, Luciola the Bewitching Belle. And Enforcer number 0, Campanella the Fool. And in addition to those 5, we've also heard 2 names repeatedly. The Professor and Louve. It seems like one of those 2 is the man we know as Lieutenant Lawrence. Yeah, that seems right. And Luciola said I know both of them. It's very possible Lawrence Belgar was a false or even stolen identity. What gets me is that this whole mess is supposed to be the work of 7 people. That's just the craziest damn thing I've ever heard. 7 people did all this? It does seem incredible, but I'm perfectly willing to believe it. We'll need to be prepared for anything, even more so than before. Shara, are you sure you want... Honey, didn't you hear me earlier? Liberal is my home. You don't need a special reason to protect your homeland. Even if that means fighting a memory from your old home. Is Joshua gonna be surprised enforcer? This is not supposed. This is covered. Joshua is an enforcer. He's called the Black Fang. Chera. I think that was the Walter. Is that the Walter or the prologue? But yeah, he's an enforcer. I'll keep in mind Sherazard. It doesn't have to end that way for you, you know. Not that Estelle is aware. She doesn't really know what enforcers are. Walter and I accepted a long time ago that it has to end in battle between us. The only way we have to say anything to each other is with our fists. But that's not necessarily true for you and Miss Lucy, you know? Well, I think Sin has a point. Shara, you still got a lot of time to figure out what you want to do. And I think I know what I want to do myself. What? Hey, everyone? I realize it's kind of late, but there's something I need to show you all. Huh? Estelle? Wait, Estelle, are you... Yeah, it's time. Everyone, I got this photo from Niall and Dorothy a little while ago. Estelle passed the photo around to everyone. Is Joshua, Josette on the Bobcat when they escaped from the military base. This is, what, that thing where the bandit ship got retaken? Ah, I see. So that is how it played out then. Well, I recognize the girl on the left. She's one of the Capuas in the tournament. That would have been a good twist if they kept it secret, yeah. I guess they kind of used that twist for the end of the first game. When he talks to Weissman, the professor. But given, and then they cover it again during... I think during one of... Shit, I think it was the first or second chapter they covered it. On the right. What? Joshua! I'm sorry I kept quiet about this until now. It was kind of a shock, so I just couldn't come out and say it. Estelle. I don't know what Joshua thinks he's doing, but I think he's trying in his own way to fight the society. I don't think he joined the Capuas to do bad things, but he's still, well, we understand Estelle. Besides, his lower face is covered in this photo, so I certainly can't say for sure this is Joshua Bright. No, sir. We'll keep this internal to the guild for now. Thanks, Ina. But Estelle, are you sure? You finally found a clue about Joshua. Yeah, I'm sure. My connection to Joshua isn't going anywhere. Not so long as I remember myself, you know? Now that I think of it that way, I'm not going crazy over it. Ah. I'm walking down different paths, but I know our destination's the same. So I'm going to keep going my own way for now. If I don't, I'll never become the kind of person I need to become. Estelle. Well, despite trying to act cool, I gotta admit, I really want to know just what's going on between Joshua and Miss Tomboy there. I still got a long way to go, I guess. Oh, Estelle. Looks like you really made up your mind. Your dream in the forest must have been something else, Yeah, I was given a chance to remember my bond with Joshua, and I remembered my mother's warmth. I guess I can actually be thankful to the gospel this time. I guess so. To take a train is tough here at this point, I swear. Even gospels cannot stand before our Estelle. Inspiring. See, in chapter 4. At least we'll have ample time to see the beginning of chapter 5 before we end. Top of Esmelda's tower. This is to the north of Roland. Sula. Esmelda's tower. It's just as we heard. She's in love with the dark magic terrorist. It's her brother for all intents and purposes. She's really something. That is absolutely correct. Yeah. One of the 4 device towers activated on the release of the seal beneath Gransel Castle. A second barrier defending the Oreo from all angles. The professor's research is spot on, it seems. Speaking of... Campanella, Walter. Yo! Sorry to keep you waiting. Hope we didn't tire you too much with the delay. Ah, Walter, Campanella. This is a surprise. I was sure it'd be Louve who met me here. What turning of the wind is this, I wonder? Louve is accompanying the professor for the moment, so as much as it may not be my place as a mere observer, I came in his stead. And, I ain't got much to do at this point. Right now, I'm just killing some time. How unusual for both of you. Though interesting, Louve is accompanying the professor? They're performing the last experiment then. Apparently. Our big fancy plan is heading into the big leagues, looks like. The Archaisms and Jaegers are almost ready. Once we have the beta in hand, we'll all be quite busy, I suspect. Nice ship. The last experiment. They mean to go up against the legend, I take it. Even the professor and Louve are going to struggle with that, I would imagine. Maybe. We're talking about hijacking a creature of legend, after all. You quite like throwing pictures around or shaking the earth. But hey, Campanella, this ain't like you. Oh, what's this now? You're usually happily tagging along with the professor. You ain't doing that, especially when things are this interesting. That means something even better's come up. Let's spit it out already. Why, Walter, I'm hurt. Have you so little faith in me? I trust you as much as your number. Overflowing camaraderie, Walter. Such slings, such arrows. You two are so cruel. Well, in truth, I would love to sit back and watch the fireworks unfold, but as it turns out, I have a bit of work to do. I'm off to gain his permission to use the Ark. Shit! Seriously? We're finally busting that monstrosity out? This mission gets better every day. The Crimson Ark. The Glorious. I find it hard to believe we would use such. Do we intend to turn this nation into nothing more than a smoking crater? Well, that will be up to the professor and Louve. So I'm afraid I must depart as soon as we're done. I so look forward to hearing about our experiment when I get back. Uh-oh. There's Weissman, Louve. This is... Yes, I thought it would be here. Behold, Louve, a majestic thing, is it not? Are you really going to perform an experiment on something like this? I understand your apprehension. Without this data, however, we have no hope of completing the beta. We must know. Ooh. Oh, shit. Oh, I see we woke you. Your first time in the waking world of mortals in 20 years, yes? This is the first time we've met. Allow me to introduce myself. You may call me George Weissman. I'm one of the Anguis, caretaker of Ouroboros. Begone. This power which hangs about thee like a mist. Familiar it be, somehow, but thy eyes betray thy purpose. In those windows I see a soul, twisted and bent, incapable of joy, unyoked from bringing suffering and agony to thy fellow man. Well, well, such compliments. But I'm afraid I must deny your request. I won't be going anywhere. After all, we've business regarding the treasure of Adios. What? Show him, Luve. That. Oh? Does this stir up memories from 1200 years ago? It's merely a replica, but I dare say it's well made enough, wouldn't you? It's a talking dragon universe. Surely thou dost not. Thou cannot mean the shining ring. Ah, but I do. Now then, our final test awaits. Chapter 5, that which one must protect. Now, interestingly enough, very briefly, it's easy to miss. In the first game, in the final chapter, if you read the final newspaper, I think it's actually right before the ending. If you read the final newspaper, there's a very brief column, a very brief paragraph of sightings of a dragon flying north in Liberal. Of course, it's just chalked up to be just, someone just seeing an airship, but it's very, very brief. Easy to miss.
Leave it to me.
What time is it? So we'll go a little bit longer. Get to the next city at least. Ah, there's always one last fucking side quest too. Okay, it's time we finally got to Bose. Like we've been planning for a million years now. So the place that hasn't seen an experiment too. That's true. But from the sounds of it, there isn't anything odd happening in Bose. I think we can take our time for once and help out here in Roland a bit before heading out. Sounds good. Let's see if there's anything else to do and head for the landing port when we're done. Anton. Oh, this is Fremont. No, that's not Anton. What the fuck? I don't give a shit about Fremont. I just want to know about Anton. Everybody's happy that they're waking from the coma. That's what this conversation goes on to. Holy god. Okay. Recipe. This should be finished instantly because I have a bunch of shit. Drink your liquor. Do not be drunk by it. I will await atop the clock tower. Anton. An Anton quest. Perfect. Letter for the Amalgam Mine. Okay, I think the main monster might spawn now. I'm not going to worry about the fishing one. I will, however, do the Anton quest. He's up here. Oh, Anton. Goddess, I beg of you. Get to the next city equals tomorrow. It just might, you know what? Might not get to the next city, but I will at least do these quests so there's time for Thursday. Help me find a way to get closer to that gorgeous woman. I always say, we're about to end, and then 2 hours later. Got a sec? Hmm? Oh, hello. Are you from the guild by any chance? Yep, that's right. You saw your post on the board. Would you be Anton? That's me, the one and only Anton from the capital. I know we've only just met. My request is fairly urgent. I don't think the job will be too hard, though. What do you say? You ready to hear me out? Of course. Also, it's Arctic. Welcome, welcome. Sure thing. What is it you need us to do? Right. Well, you see, I'd like you to gather ingredients for a certain medicine. Here's a list of what I should be able to just hand us in, because I have a shit ton of crafting stuff. Okay, putting aside the monster bits. I'm not too familiar with what a pearl glass is, but it does sound familiar. Pearl glasses are river fish. I need their livers to make the medicine I want. They're found primarily in freshwater rivers with a lot of floating water plants. Eugenics is amazing. Go to King very early. Oh, did that come out? I think I remember seeing a trailer for it last week. Freshwater, plenty of plant life. Alright, got it. Done writing it down? Great, it's all you then. Don't let me down, guys. Hold on a second, we still got questions. Why? What more do you need to know? I gave you lots of details. You just said you were making medicine. What kind of medicine is it, and for what purpose? You need to know both its name and intended use. Why should I have to tell you that? Look, we can't afford to help criminals in this business. For all we know, you could be asking us to make something poisonous. Yes, exactly. If you've nothing to hide, then it shouldn't be a problem to tell us. Best isometric strategy game ever. So good against stuff. Actually, you're gonna win 2 years in a row right now. Best racing game. Expedition 33. I suppose that makes sense. Alright. What I'm looking to make is a medicine called Diacet Secret. For a while after you take it, no amount of liquor can get you drunk. I heard about it from Father Divine, so I trusted it works as described. Not even a little drunk? It's pretty incredible, actually. How curious, how interesting. Huh, what nonsense. Drinking without getting drunk is... I mean, what's even the point of drinking in the first place? The way you drink's kind of messed up in the first place, Shira. And for what reason could you require such a concoction? What, you stuck in some situation where you're gonna die be drinking a whole lot? Sorta. Might say it's a drinking party, and no, I can't back out. So that's why I need the medicine. Yeah, let's go with that. I understand the feeling all too well. Really need to get that drunk, though? Can't you just drink a little and stop? This is ridiculous. Trying to cheat your way out of a good buzz and insult to responsible drinkers everywhere. Responsible my ass, Shira. Anyway, are you satisfied now? Yeah, I suppose. Once we have the ingredients, we'll come back here and deliver them to you. Awesome, thank you. And good luck. My future depends on it, so please don't take this request lightly. I can't say on Earth your future depends on this, but sure, okay. Okay, I might have everything already. Hey, Anton, got a sec? Oh wow, back already? Could it be? Did you bring the ingredients for the medicine? Right you are. Go ahead and check them out. I'll show Anton the ingredients they gathered. Thank you, New Game Plus. Oh, you did it. You got them all. Thank you, Bracers. Come on, let's go get this baby made. We're coming with you? Naturally, you're the ones who helped make this all possible. It's only right that we taste this sweet moment of truth together. I kinda get the sentiment, but this is just weird. Well, whatever. Let's go with him and get this job closed out. Yeah, let's just get this over and done with. That's what I like to hear. Out to Father Divine we go. Thank you for waiting. The medicine is done. Here, take it. This is Diacet's Secret. This is the medicine I've been looking for. This is it. A medicine to keep you from getting drunk no matter how much you drink. That is true. However, that effect is only applicable if you follow all directions and use the correct dose. Yahoo! I finally got it! Now I can confess my feelings to Ida with my head held high. What? Did you just say Ida? Yeah, it's all like it to me. I can't let that go. Yeah, that lovely lady in the guild. She's apparently a heavy drinker, but that's no problem as long as I'm prepared. If I drink this medicine, I can invite her out and survive. You hate that medicine to take Ida on a date? That's both gutsy and kind of pathetic. Still, thinking about it, this might be a golden opportunity. If we miss this moment, no one might ever drink Ina under. I like the way you think. I'd love to see Ina get crushed under the weight of her liquor for once. Oh, so you help? I'd like you to find a way to invite her out from the guild. A noble mission. We will endeavor to do our utmost to aid you. Would meeting up at the bar work? Yes, that should be fine. Once she hears there's drinking involved, I'm sure Ina will show up. Hold it, Shira. Now what's the problem? We're already on board with it. We should always strive to go that extra arge for our client. Heart emoji. Right. She just wants a drink, doesn't she? Man, I knew I was about to hire bracers. I was right to hire bracers. You really care about your clients. I'm heading to the bar, so see you in a bit. Yes, let us be off, brother. Santiago's heart was very much enjoying. Big Bad Voodoo. Ooh, the BBVD. I'll be impressed if you can actually outdrink Ina. That young man is far too hasty. I still haven't even finished explaining the medicine. I'm sure it'll be fine. I doubt that Ina will take up the offer anyway. Just you watch. Anyway, come by the bar if you're interested. I'll drink Ina there later. Oh, Anton. I came by because I was curious, but seems like Shira and Ina aren't here yet. Guild work might have come up. Ina's got a lot on her plate, too. Now let's take a seat and wait for a bit. Nah, doesn't look like we'll need to. But sorry to drag you all the way out here, Ina. Will the guild house be okay? Yes, I'm having Ridge mind the front of the house for now. An important part of the receptionist's work is to talk with clients, after all. Forgive me for making you come out here when you're so busy. No, don't let it bother you. Now, what was it you wanted to talk about? Then let us begin. Yes, please. She really brought her. Maybe she's using the consultation with the client as an excuse. Well, it's kind of a consultation, but I wonder if Ina will get mad. This is probably not going to go very well. Well then, first, a toast to this wonderful meeting of minds. Yes, let's. Sure, I don't mind, but are you okay, Anton? Drinking before a consultation? It's okay, bring it on. I may look like this, but my tolerance for alcohol is pretty amazing. Oh, is that so? I guess you really can't tell by looking. Well then, cheers. Hey, just what part of that is a consultation? Barely a hello before the booze comes out. But if Olivier is participating too, then... Did he have some of that medicine? Yeah, probably. No way he'd be able to smile like that in front of Ina if he hadn't. Ha ha ha. Ah, really? What a joke, Ina. Yep. Now then, let's get to the main topic. May I inquire as to the nature of your request? Yeah, so about that. Ina. Yes? Please go out with me. Go out? You mean, like that? Yes, please. I cannot bear to live without you anymore. Well, that's rather sudden. I'm not sure how to respond. I can understand Ida's confusion. The bonds of man and woman are not such that rationality might know. They're not a problem that one might solve through thinking. But I need to have some kind of solution. Am I just supposed to just live, crush under the weight of these feelings? Fear not, young man. I have an excellent plan. Shall we settle things with a contest? Contest? Meaning? A battle stage. A bar. Having said that, the weapons at your disposal should be clear. I see. A drinking contest, then. Oh no, that's an interesting suggestion. Still, it would be unjust to cast poor Anton into this ring as such. Let us attach a handicap to Ina. Alright, but what kind of handicap? I shall take the field with Anton. Look, he's got that fucking lecherous face going. In other words, you contest the two of us. Alright, I accept your challenge. Now we're talking. I will serve as referee then. However, I have my own condition. What condition would that be? We'll use the strongest liquor they have here. I apologize, but I can't waste too much time on this. Understood. As expected from Ina. Pull out the Everclear. That should be enough for now. This is enough to make a Rhino-Slider go cross-eyed. Thank you, Faulkner. Now, shall we begin? I am ready. Yes, let's. Alright, I'll do my best. And they're off. Yeah. Let's see how far they can go. Ah, that's 5. Really hits you right in the gut. I have cleared 5 myself as well. I would be 10 between the two of you then. A pretty good pace, I'd say. Yes, really. Perhaps too good, though. If you blow through it too fast, liquor will hit you all at once, you know. Oh no, I wouldn't get that joke over this. Indeed, and my liver feels especially strong today as well. Now let us keep up the pace. Both of them look pretty good. I wonder if this is the effect of the medicine. Ida looks the same as always, and a hint of flush there. Well, she is Ida. But this might be a better match than I thought. Phew, 20. Holy shit, she had 20 drinks. And? How are you two? I finished 10. That was my 10th as well. Well then, they are also at 20. You're evenly matched. My, what a surprise. Your pace hasn't slowed at all since we started drinking. It's just like I said at the start, right? I gotta admit my throat's burning a bit. Yes, it feels like it's been scorched. You don't feel it at all, Ina? Oh, is something wrong with your throat? Do you have a cold? I was asking the wrong person, it seems. If you're not feeling well, don't force yourself. I don't want to cause trouble for the store after all. Yeah. Let us continue our match. Holy god. 15. Even my stomach burns. Hmm? Anton? What is it? Are you feeling okay? It seemed like you spaced out there. No, I'm okay, of course. Anton, keep it together. The medicine's effect hasn't faded yet. Yes. Ida's already drunk quite a lot herself. No matter how strong a drinker she is, her limit could be close. But Olivier, she doesn't seem bothered at all. Just look at her. She's not even the slightest bit red. Ugh. Hmm? What is it, you two? If you're a man, then be not troubled by such trivial things. Beyond here is a battle of wills. Now overcome it with your love and courage. Got it. Are you sure you're okay? If you're not feeling well, then you should just give up sooner than later. Thank you for your thoughtfulness, but we have no intention of surrendering. Yes, this is where things really get started. Now, let us continue the match. Holy god. Even if it's just like, that's the weakest fucking beer. 36! Number 36. Number 18. Me too. 18. Gentlemen, you're not looking very good. Do you intend to keep going? What a thing to ask now. Yeah. If I back down now, I couldn't really be called a meh. Anton. Anton! Uh-oh. Oh. And there goes Olivier. Hang in there, you two. I think they're dead. Olivier! His eyes are totally rolled back in his head. It's like the little trump card is expired. Really, that's too bad. Today I thought I'd see Aina get sunk in her cups. I guess that medicine was only a veneer of strength in the end. Medicine? So, actually... this is bad. Oh, father. What brings you here? I heard 2 youths were having a drinking contest. I had a suspicion, and it seems I was correct. Yep, they're totally trashed. Seems like the medicine wore off, so... Now, normally that medicine should last for an entire evening. However, it's likely the 2 of them shared it between themselves. Without the intended quantities, the effect won't be what is expected. Ah. That's why it wore off. Everyone, make sure you obey usage instructions when taking medicine. I think I see what's going on. I thought it was odd for Olivier to suddenly invite me. I guess that's just going to strengthen his trauma, huh? Anyway, I will take responsibility for taking care of these 2. It seems they've imbibed quite an unhealthy amount of liquor. Yes, please. I need to be getting back to the guild. What is it? Aina, you smell strongly of alcohol yourself. You've had quite a bit yourself, it seems, but are you not drunk? Me? No, this was hardly anything. I drank, sure, but that was just barely enough to be social. What? You gotta be kidding me! Seriously, you're a bottomless pit. I see. Well, then that's fine. It's true you do smell of liquor, but you don't seem to be drunk. Then if you'll pardon me... Well, Sherazard, take care of the rest, thanks. Oh, yes, you can put it on Olivier's tab. Aina, a part of you that never misses anything is what I love. You can now reconfigure your party.
Leave it to me.
Oh man, you actually lose Olivier for a bit, I guess, when you do that. That's funny. Okay then.
Together now.
I finally got in some quality drinking time today. Circumstances aside, I really have to thank you guys. You're welcome, I guess. By the way, what happened to Olivier afterward? Don't worry, Father Divine gave him a clean bill of health. He's a bit slow on the uptake right now, but I'm sure he'll be able to do his job just fine. He's upstairs if you need him. I can go get him back. He has the cloak after all. He's just laying there dead. He's just sitting there fucking dead. Greetings. Did you need something? Yeah, of course. You need the power of my genius. Not to worry, I understand entirely. And he's back to normal. Alright, Olivier.
Leave it to me.
Get our homies back in the party. That can be handed in. I'm not doing the fishing thing. This one should also be done instantly. The bar quest. Oh, it's Radford. Is it the girl? I'm trying to talk to the girl. Okay, maybe it's this guy. Nope. Talk. Ah, Estelle. Arms open her eyes, thank you so much. So, is this the other quest? Everybody's happy that they're... whoever they're... No, it's not. Who gave this quest? Denzel. Okay, where's Denzel? Denzel. Hey there. Finally my tablet has woken up. Sorry for kicking up such a fuss. Oh no, please, don't let it bother you. It's all part of the job, really. Yes, it's as Estelle said. Incidentally, apparently you have some kind of job for us. Oh, I see, you're here on business then. What I'd like to ask you to do is investigate a certain recipe and find its ingredients. How about it? Got the time? Should be able to instantly hand this in. What recipe am I investigating? Right, so what I'd like you to find is the recipe for a certain stew. We'll call it Roland Style Hodgepodge Stew for now. Roland Style Hodgepodge Stew. To be honest, that sounds about as appetizing as that potluck we found in the chest once. Yes, it sounds like it'd be hard to keep down. I don't know, it's just a temporary name. Anyway, I want you to investigate that recipe. If you ask around town, I'm sure you'll find something. Apparently every home used to make it back in the old days. You should probably ask some old folks to know about cooking then. It doesn't seem like younger people know about what old families cooked. It's actually a sensible suggestion from you for once. That's fine for a direction to begin our investigation, but we still don't have enough information about the recipe itself. Yeah, you might be right. It'd be nice to know what goes into it at least. It's a good point, but sorry, but you'll need to ask Radford about the recipe. Huh? I thought this was your request, but you want us to ask Radford? He's outside. Well, here's the thing. He's the one who brought it up in the first place. Apparently he ate this nostalgic meal in his dreams. He's been begging me to make it for him ever since. I understand now. The food of dreams, eh? But a guild job just for stew? I mean, was it really that good? Might not necessarily be because of the flavor. Perhaps it's a memory of some kind. The old man's not saying much either way, but I'm sure that's the case. Anyway, that's the story, so I'd really like to serve it to him if I could. What a moving tale. The big reality, a sweet dream of memories past. I shall be glad to assist. Yeah, Radford's finally awake. Let's feed him to celebrate his recovery. So then, we'll start by asking Radford about the recipe. Is there anything else we need to know before we go? Well, after you sort out finding the recipe, would you mind also picking up the ingredients needed? Might use some kind of rare ingredients after all, which I have all of. I just need to know the actual recipe. If ingredients are what you want, then ingredients you shall have. Good to hear. I can't believe how fired up I'm getting over this. Can't wait to see what kind of recipe it is. Well, don't you worry. We'll leave no stone unturned in our search. Yep, what she said. Expect some good news to come your way soon. Thanks. Alright, Radford. Miss Falconer. Radford's at the bar. Isn't the meal ready yet? It's an old recipe, so I'm sure the chef is having trouble. Radford, can we have a moment? Oh, who's this but Cassius's girl? You need something from me? Oh, yes, we'd like to ask you about the recipe you ordered from Denzel. Oh, that dish. You mean the stew I dreamed of? Yes, that recipe. Actually, we've got a request from Denzel. They explained that they've been hired by Denzel to investigate the recipe. So then you'll be looking for the stew. Oh, I can taste your success already. I'm counting on you. Thanks, but we need your help before we start, sir. We'd like to hear the details about that recipe. Not just what went into it or the flavoring, but where you had it, anything. I see. Well then. First, as I'm sure you know, the recipe was for a stew. I seem to remember the base flavor was black pepper. It was a spicy, invigorating stew. Right. Strong black pepper, got it. Go on, please. The main ingredient was meat, I think. You could probably also use white fish. But I like meat, so we'll say meat for now. A big chunk of meat, bone and all. So tender that it just falls off. Also, I know some herbs were used. But I can't remember what kind. I remember the smell, but I can't remember what it was the smell of. It's so frustrating. The main ingredient was meat or fish, but you want meat, bone, and all. Okay, check. And lastly, there were herbs used, but you don't know the exact types. Is that it? That's fairly specific. Yeah, it should be plenty to start with. I hope that helped a bit. It's plenty, thank you very much. Well then, happy hunting. I'm really looking forward to hearing you found the recipe. Okay, I think I can just hand this in instantly. I think if you talk to people, I don't remember who all the people are you supposed to talk to. Might have to miss this one. Malga Mine. Mine Chief Gaton. To the West Roland Gate. This house? It's Sarah. Like, I don't know, it's Rhett. Maggie. Oh, Maggie gives one of the things with a stew, okay. Oh, she doesn't know, okay. Where is this guy's house? Go this way. Gaton? No. Gaton? Yes, there he is. Just had to go missing as we were ready to get back to work. Looks like you have a problem, Chief. Ah, you all. You saw the board, didn't you? Yeah, we did. You say something was stolen, Gaton. Yeah, I'm worried about that. What's happened? I'd like you to get on this right away, as it's a good time. Yes. Excellent. Well, then, before I get into the meat of it. Hey, Anya. What is it, Papa? Papa's got some very important things to talk about with Mrs. Stella and her friends. How about you go have Mama read you a book? Okay. Mama, can you read for me? You need a moment to get ready too, huh? Well, there goes the blood sugar again. I'll go diabetic at this rate. Right, let's start over. Let me start from the very beginning. I know the posting wasn't too clear. If you could. It will help to know everything in the case of a missing object. What's gone missing is the Royal Letter of Commission for the Amalgam Mine. Letters of commission come from the desk of the Queen herself. They authorize to record the authorizing of a mine chief for a given excavation site. The Amalgam Mine is actually the technical property of the Crown, you see. You can legally mine there only because we have the commission from Her Majesty. Okay. I never actually knew the mine. I guess the whole mountain was the Queen's property. While liberal is in practice a democracy, remember that it's still a constitutional monarchy. It follows that at least a portion of the kingdom's resources would remain property of the crown, and thus the government. Either way, I think I follow the problem. Even if it is a formality on some level, the Amalgam Mine is Queen Alicia's property. As such, if you mine there without a commission, it's still technically theft. That's it exactly. You understand why that letter is so important now to the whole town. Yeah, no kidding, it's important. But with that out of the way, what exactly happened? When did you notice the letter was missing? Where is it supposed to be? It was just this morning. I noticed the little strongbox to keep the commission in was open. When I looked inside, no letter. Oh, I think this is a Phantom Thief quest. There wasn't been much time since you discovered the letter is missing. I'll be honest, Gaton, I'm a little unsure if this is even a crime at this point. Yeah, I agree. It's a good chance it's a kid's prank or something. You ask your daughter about this? I wish I could say it was. It'd make things easier. This time, though, it ain't that. Why are you so sure? Wait, that look on your face. You have a reason beyond the letter itself to think this is a crime, don't you? Good intuition. As a matter of fact, well, take a look. Yep, there it is. Oh, my beauteous princess and her band of heroes. The words of the queen lie in my hand. Should you desire their return, then sift ye through the chaos to find the truth. The first key lies within the city. Search they who sit beside the goddess. So that car is inside the box instead. This has to be a theft. No kid wrote that. Hey, Dios, just kill me. Oh ho. What in the... Why do you all look like you've seen a naughty dog? No, it's just, it's nothing, Gaton. Don't worry. Well, at least we know who our criminal is. That's something. Kind of. Blue Blanc, you opera fetish maniac. Do you ever know when to give up? Who the hell is Blue Blanc? Is he the one who stole my letter? I can't be absolutely certain, but I think it's very likely. We can guess about it later. Right now we need to track down this letter. Yes, that seems wise. Let's try finding the place in the card first. We must seek out those who sit beside the goddess. The Phantom Thief has something of a fixation with Adios. I'm guessing it's some kind of illusion. The only place that remotely comes to mind would be the town church. Maybe we should start there. That's like a good place to start to me. Anyway, Estelle, good luck and be careful. We'll do our best. We'll get to the bottom of this, Gaton. Please, the town needs that letter back, not just me. I assume... Okay, come on. This one... It's rather simple, because I remember the answers to one of his clues. It's fucking... I think it's like one of these things. I want to sit beside a goddess. Goddess, Adios. Don't tell the camera. I won't. Your secret's safe with me. Oh hey, see this chair? It's been placed just to the side in the chapel. They who sit by the side of the goddess. Perhaps this is the place. Yeah, I'm gonna check it out. I thought so. There's a card. The second key is your next magical circle. I know where this is. The square is something from the forest. Alright, success. Yeah, right. This hint is like nothing we've seen at this point. What on earth could it mean? This also looks like it's showing us somewhere. Considering the direction this has taken until now, probably. Yes, it's probably appropriate to assume that. Let's look around the city to see if there's anything that resembles the hint. The answer, by the way, is boxes. He drew a stack of boxes is what the clue is. Um, stack of boxes somewhere. No. Are these damn boxes? Might even be at the mayor's place, actually. Oh, no, there you go. I think it's here. Or is it not? Okay, it's not. Oh, it might be up top there. You get there, you gotta go up here. Okay. No, it's not it. Okay. Long stack of boxes. Okay, this might be at the mayor's house. There's a stack of boxes somewhere in town. There it is. Hey, don't these remind you of the shape and symbols on this card? The boxes, I mean. The way they're lined up's almost a perfect match. You're right. Exactly 5 boxes, too. Looks like we should investigate. Yep, way ahead of you. Where is it? Where is it? Bingo. The third key is in the city. Search the belly of the 8-eyed iron beast. That's what's on this new card. An 8-eyed iron beast, huh? It should be in a city, but what could it possibly be? I'm up for another scavenger hunt if everyone else is. Though personally, I'd like to find this beast quickly so he can take a well-deserved break. Olivier. No argument for me. Well, let's get it over with. I think it's a grate. I think it's a sewer grate. I think. No. If it's not a sewer grate, might be a lighting fixture, but I just can't quite remember. Too far. There's the belly. Okay, I think I have to actually go down into the sewer, which is over here. Because that's the 8-eyed iron beast, or whatever the hell. Next. No. Damn. I don't think it was in a chest. That's where it fucking was. We're just gonna miss every hit, okay. Alright then. There we go. Confused gem. Once. I might have. There must be a sewer I had to look at first, unless it's in the water. Is this like a fishing? No, okay. That's the other fishing spot at the very least over that quest. Oh, here we go. Okay, okay, it's not the sewer, it's this thing at the back. This is Elger's Forge. It's not lit. I think it's freezing, but you think this is it? The 8-eyed iron beast? Yeah, I'm not super confident, but I think so. Okay, so I was correct in remembering a grate, but it wasn't a sewer grate. It was the fucking forge. Let's check it anyway. Estelle found a card and a key inside the hearth. I found it. Just tell me you're gonna be here another 2 hours. Don't shame me. Please don't shame me. Take the key and throw it open. Throw it open the unopening door. That which you seek lies in the land beyond. Rusted key. We found the key. But a key to an unopening door. Fantastic. Thanks. I would assume a door is somewhere in the city. And as always, it's probably a metaphor. Let's look for anything that might be taken as a door. I don't like we've got a choice. Come on, let's get moving. So we're getting toward the end at least. It's down in... This is... Okay, now it's down in the sewer. It's that fucking door down there. I'm pretty sure. If I'm wrong, well... then you can shame me. There we go. I was wondering what we were going to find here. But it's just a bunch of junk. Still, watch out! Oh no, not the rugs. What the heck are... Ask questions later. For now, stand your ground and fight. Okay. 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 Alright. A hurricane. There you go. Snipe. Crit. Kill. I guess miss. Alright, Agate. Done what for? Oh, you can actually swing this up. And dead. No more rugs. Not be here for 2 hours. I will not. One thing less to worry about, I guess. Indeed. Oh man, I'm still shaking. Having something like that come at you from out of nowhere. Be still my quaking nerves. I've never seen monsters quite like those before. I suppose this is our Phantom Thief's way of saying hello. For an uncouth villain such as he? Likely. This seems to be the last obstacle, however. Right, all that remains now is getting that commission letter back. Let's look around, it must be in this room. Right, probably shouldn't forget about that. Right here. Letter recovered. Come then, let us fly away to return it. No doubt our dear mine chief has worried himself silly over this little thing. Probably. Right. Yes! And good. Estelle, if you were older, I'd owe you a pitcher of beer the size of your head. You saved my butt today. I didn't think you'd get it back so quickly either. Guess that's why they call you the great hope of Roland's young people. Come on, that's embarrassing. You just did the job, that's all. Acted all humble on. Come on, young people have a right to be puffed up and proud sometimes. Let loose a little. That aside, though, I'd like to know. That Blue Blanc maniac. Please tell me you caught him and put him in irons. I really wish we had. Sadly, he's evaded our capture for years, far beyond the borders of Roland. Estelle explained all she knew of Blue Blanc's history. Now this was a crime of pleasure, not gain. This guy's internationally famous. What a son of a... So what, he just came all the way out here for the sole purpose of messing with our lives? He really is a maniac. I can't understand that kind of thinking at all. Trust me, I think everyone here agrees with you. Still, I think you should be a little more careful with that letter, regardless. This time it actually was a prank of sorts, but he proved the letter could be stolen for blackmail and the like. That's a good point. I'll think of some way to secure the letter better. Well, miss, there's no real safe place in my house to store it. Maybe I should do as I thought when I first got this and just ask Mayor Klaus to put it in the safe. That should work, right? It'd be perfect. Well, depending on the thief, it might still get stolen, but it's safer, I guess. Problem is, Mayor Klaus already got robbed once in recent memory. Still, he's safer here than lying around here. It's a good idea. You should ask the man. I don't want to trouble him, but I'll go ahead and ask. For today, though, it's back to the mine with me. Oh my, right back to work. Yeah, the Septian export market never slows down. No matter how much we dig out, we can't keep up with demand. I mean, hell, you use Orbmans. You know how important Septium is. Yeah, painfully so. We're pretty much always banging our heads against the counter at the Orbital Factory, lamenting our lack of Sepith. Indeed, it is a problem. The specialty quartz that I require for the fullest of my abilities is devilishly hard to make. Wait, really? I didn't realize braces were that hard up for Sepith. You just need Sepith shards and not true Septium crystal cores, right? Here, take some with you. I brought a few bags home just yesterday. What? Did you just give us Sepith? Yeah, it ain't that big a deal. You can always dig out more in the mine, and the big ticket items are the true crystals anyway. So which element would you like? This doesn't matter for me, but I would highly suggest either Mirage, Time, or Space. So let's go with Time. Black Sepith then. Well, it may not be much, but hopefully it'll help at the factories. Make sure to make some good quartz, alright? You bet. Thanks a ton. You're really too kind, Gaton. Well, I'm out to the mine then. Estelle, make sure you come back to Roland soon, alright? Everyone misses you and your dad. Hey, Frissa, Anya, I'm out to the mine again. Alright, take care. Papa! Come home soon. I'll be a good girl and wait. Yeah, I'll be back as soon as I can, Anya. You be a good girl and help Mama while I'm away, okay? Okay. Aw. Even Katana's immune to those blood sugar problems, I think. I'm off then. Yes, good luck at the mine. Take care, Chief. Bye-bye. Another one done? And this in. There's just so many quests. They always like just dump a bunch of side shit on you too. I'm probably gonna skip this one. I'll see if the fishing can be headed in. The other one, the recipe, is probably gonna require me to talk to every single person in town, and that's God, I missed fast travel. Here we go. God, he's still not, he wants like 4? Okay, yeah, we're not doing that then. I guess that one's not getting done either. Because I swore it was in Mistwald, but I guess it's not. You just don't. You don't know, man. You don't know. That's the wrong way. Goes back home. And my hope is that this boss, I got that pot already, I hope that this boss spawned with the mist gone. I don't know if that was a prerequisite. One more sweep. I think one of the Purzles knows part of the recipe. But I don't remember. Just don't know. No. Mr. Boss, where are you? This is God. There he is.
Is in my hands.
Swords. Oh, Agate's actually gonna fucking die. Didn't expect that. I suppose I'm approaching the part of the game where he's actually starting to hurt. After really whip my ass. Like, still trying to kill Agate.
Oh, are we done?
There we go. Additional BP. You don't need every BP to get the S rank, but it definitely helps. I think there's, like I said, there's dialogue changes the higher your rank is. Let's get it in. If I can't just make the soup that he wants. Nope. Okay. Let's heal up. Continue. The next city, and then call it. It's been less than 2 hours. I am not shamed. I'm not dishonored. Okay. Actually, quite a few safe spots. Heading out already. You just came home, sure you can't stay around for a while? Sorry, there's kind of a lot going on. Once our current job's done, I totally intend to come back and take a load off for a while. You really should, we'll be waiting. Anyway, your tickets have already been paid for by Ina. Ready to check in? And this is the point of return, so yes, let's go. Alright then. I'll get the guild house arranged, tell call the other members of your team. TikTok! TikTok! Clock running. Where's my timer app? Where's my timer widget to put on the stream? We'll see the next city. We will. Progress. Professor Russell. I see. So now we have a gospel influencing people's minds, using the fog's particulate matter as a medium to exert mental control over a large area. Well, that settles one question at least. Excuse me, Professor. Cassius, you old dog, good timing. Escaped Laced, did you? Yes, I finally managed to finish a bit of work. I thought I would stop by and see how you're holding up. What's this? A report from your granddaughter? Yes, just arrived express from Roland. Thanks to Tita's report, I'm quite certain of my theory now. About the gospel, I'm assuming. Yes, though it's ultimately still a hypothesis at this point. I've gone over it again and again, both on paper and with the capel, though. I'm reasonably sure of this. Shall I go over it? Absolutely. Right then. Ahem. So, what we've been calling the Gospel's orbital shutdown phenomenon. Tell me, what do you think it is based on what you've seen and heard? It's an effect that occurs to any orbital device located near an active Gospel, chaining from one device to another, and it renders these devices inert while a Gospel is active. So it seems to me, at least. Half right, half wrong. I can take Dancing Cat, love that anymore. What you're describing is closer to the orbital art, anticept. That shorts out the internal quartz circuits of an orbit to temporarily suspend its functionality, which is a spell that essentially is a spell that causes silence. It silences a target. The phenomenon generated by a gospel, however, is fundamentally different. It steals all the orbital energy formed in an orbit, down to the very last jewel. So it's more of an orbital absorption phenomenon then. Yes, to make a comparison to a combustion engine, it's like siphoning out the petrol. But wait. Unless I badly misunderstand physics, that means the gospel should absorb and store all that power, correct? Good eye, lad. You've noticed a very important fact. So I've measured the gospel after it absorbs energy, but the gospel does not actually hold any of it. Not even a single EP's worth. Is it possible the energy is being vented into the wider environment? No, not at all. The energy disappears. Completely. Utterly. And quite impossibly thanks to thermodynamics. Furthermore, these new gospels Estelle's group has been encountering. Every time they're encountered, they cause unbelievable phenomena that even our best orbital engineering can't explain. It's unclear how they're causing such effects, but I can say one thing with confidence. And that is, they're too small. I can say with absolute certainty that any device enabling such massive effects could not fit into the palm of one's hand. Even if the society somehow possesses technology centuries ahead of our own, nothing that small could contain that much potential energy. I think I'm starting to see where this is going. You're saying the Gospels must be terminals then, access points of some sort. Exactly. The only function the Gospel unit itself has is an ability to manifest an abnormal warp in a local orbital field. That warp that resonates with any local orbital devices, expands, and draws energy from the devices. The energy then disappears through the warp. Well, no, it does not disappear. It is sent elsewhere. And whatever is located elsewhere is capable of causing the impossible effects we've seen. You know, I hope I'm misunderstanding this. I'm afraid you get a passing grade here, old friend. The society can use the Gospels to draw out and spread the power of whatever this thing is. Spreading the influence of a mysterious force. No wonder the society named them Gospels. In that case, the nature of this thing bothers me. As you said, even if it's an orbit out of our purest fiction lore. And as far as that goes, I'm afraid I have no real clue. I've thought of a number of possibilities, but that would be pure speculation at this point. Now, Cassius, I will ask you the same question I asked you 10 years ago. We're in quite the pickle. What do you need me to do? The exact same words as what I asked you to develop the patrol airship. Well then. Like his little mustache on his chibi model. The key, I think, must lie in this warp the gospel creates. Russell, can you develop some kind of plan or method of stopping the resonance, the spread? Not you ask that. I'm just about done with my current invention anyway. I'll get to work as soon as I'm done with that. Developments on the gospel. Doesn't just shut down orbital energy, it absorbs it and sends it somewhere else. Okay. One more walk around the airliner. Estelle! At last we return to Bose, the land laden with memories of our first meeting. It makes my heart swell to return to a place of such sweet nostalgia. Shocking as it may be, I kinda have to agree on the heart-swelling memories bit. Although, as I remember it, you were kind of rude back then. You said I wasn't attractive and made fun of me like a schoolboy. You misunderstand me, my fair Rose. I would only display such cute, bashful behavior in order to hide feelings of love unabated. Yeah, I'll bet that's it exactly. You sure didn't waste any time putting the moves on Shara, or as I remember, or Joshua. Well, putting that aside, as you stand now, your beauty is incomparable to what it was then. Yours is a supple, healthy beauty, with a maiden's gentle virtue. Indeed, you have grown, Estelle. Oh, thank you. When you put it that way, it's kind of embarrassing. Please don't say it like that again. There's no shame to be had in virtue, Estelle. Still, you have but only begun to climb the ladder of adulthood. Should you wish to ascend even higher, I would be more than happy to assist you. No, thank you. If I was ever in a position to ask anyone about that sort of thing, I'd be a million times better off asking Shara. Ah, pity, the things I could teach. So Shara would be the one to... Ah. I'll remind you that I have a very large stick. Olivier. You rascal. You perverted rascal. Hello, Estelle. Hi, Shara. So this is where you went. Oh, wait. Do you want to be alone for a bit? Oh? This is unlike you, Estelle. Why so reserved? You want to ask about Luciola, right? Yeah. She says we met a long time ago, but I don't really remember her at all. I was wondering what she's like and if you could jog my memory. Let's see. Where to begin, then? We have to begin with her stage name, I suppose. Luciola the Bewitching Belle. She could show her audience illusions by dancing while using bells and fans, thus bewitching them, you see. Hers was the centerpiece performance of our little circus troupe, the one that really brought the audiences in. Illusions? Does she use an orpiment to make them? No, she used something she always called illusion magic, which is apparently some kind of very old non-orbal art. Luciola was from a family with a tradition of working that art. Was? People who fall in with a traveling circus like ours tend to be one of two kinds. People who've had cause to abandon their previous home and families, or people who never had such things to begin with. Luciola is one of the former, and I was the latter. If you at it again trying to sleep with kids, it's not sugar. He's a monster. He's a fucking monster. I was about 7 years old when Mr. Harvey and his band took me in. Back then I was little more than a street urchin living in the slums of a city. Pickpocketing, petty theft. There's little I wouldn't do to try to survive. The ones who reached out to hand to me were the troop's leader, Mr. Harvey, and Luciola. They taught me, the little girl who couldn't trust anyone, the warmth of a family. And they taught me all sorts of skills that would let me earn a place for myself in the troop. Dancing, beast handling, tarot reading. Luciola taught me all of it. But then 8 years ago, Mr. Harvey died in an accident. Without his leadership, we all just drifted apart and went our own ways. I'd been planning on staying with Luciola, but soon after Mr. Harvey died, she simply told me there's something I must do, and vanished. Hopeless and lost for the first time in years, I turned to the one remaining man in the world whom I still trusted. As you might suspect, it was Cassius, who'd already begun working as a bracer. You know the rest, I imagine. So that's what happened. I had no idea you'd gone through something like that. The reason I aimed to become a bracer at first was to improve myself. I wanted to be able to live and prosper on my own, show Luciola just how far I'd come since she returned, or once she returned. But, well, it has been 8 years. Perhaps that was enough time to re-examine my reasons. Shira. Don't make that face. Like Zin said, I don't intend to simply fight her without saying a word. I want to hear Luciola's story from her before doing anything. I have to know what possible reasons she could have made her associated with the society. Yeah, that sounds good. I've got your back, Shira. I'll do anything I can to help. I know I can always count on you. Still, you've grown quite a bit, haven't you, Estelle? What? That's kind of sudden. I always thought of you as being exactly what I expect of Cassius's daughter. I don't think that's quite right or fair anymore, though. What do you mean? Your strength isn't quite the same as Cassius's. Cassius has a heart as deep as the ocean and strength like a relentless wave. But you, Estelle, your strength is like the sun. You shine and make others shine just by being near them. What? Hi, Estelle. You shine like the sun. That's what Joshua said. I think that's why people are attracted to you so easily. It's what I like the most about you, and I know Joshua felt the same way. I don't think you need to feel any pressure to live up to Cassius, is my point. Yeah. You really are my big sister, Shira. You always know how to encourage me. Thanks. You're very welcome. Not saying you should return the favor, mind, but you should really drink with me sometime. Now that you're a full bracer, you'd better learn how to handle your liquor. How is booze related to... You know what? Never mind. I don't want to know. Good, Shira. Go find Zin and Tita. Just Tita. Hi, Estelle. Still walking around? Sorta, yeah. Oh, Tita, this is your first time in Bose, isn't it? Uh-huh. I've heard there's a really big store in Bose. I kind of want to see it. The Bose Market, yeah. Think of it like the department store in Gransel, but even bigger. It's actually a bunch of different stores all in one space. It's really busy. That sounds amazing. I hope you arrive in Bose soon. Well said, Tita. Alright, Sid, where are you? Oh, and Agate. Is something wrong, Agate? It's nothing. You still wander around the ship? Yeah, basically. Oh, about earlier. Earlier? What do you mean? You know, when we were put to sleep in Mistwald, did you see some kind of dream too? Oh, I see. Sorry. You not want to talk about it? Nah, it's alright. Yeah, I saw a dream. It was nostalgic as hell, I'll say that much. You too, Agate. So my voice cracks like a little boy's. You know, Estelle, you gotta work on your poker face and hide you want to know stuff. Ain't good to be that easy to read. Anyway, there's just some silly memories of when I was a kid back home. Sorry about the eagerness. But yeah, now I remember. You're from Ravenwood, right? In the Bose region? This will be your first time back home in a while then. No, I was there just a bit ago chasing down the intelligence division guys. Hey, wait a second. Why are you assuming I'm going back home? Don't be embarrassed, you big teddy bear. You got a little sister back in Ravenwood, right? You mentioned her once. You must be the biggest softie when it comes to her, huh? Hey. Oh yeah, where the heck in Ravenwood is your house anyway? I don't remember meeting any girl who stood out as Agate's little sister when we were rescuing the Sky Bandits. There was a girl with Louis, but now too young, and I figure your little sister's gotta have your hair. I'll introduce you to Misha soon. Assuming we have some reason to visit anyway. Yeah, please do. And in that case, we'll have to bring Tita along too. Why would we have to do that? Tita's kind of attached to you in case you hadn't noticed. She'd be pretty let down if you didn't introduce her to your sister, you know? Oh, I get it. You don't want Misha and Tita to meet, hmm? But now I get it. They might get together and get in lots of trouble like Tita did with Red, and they might get jealous of each other. Being an older brother must be hard work. Oh, that's what you meant. Huh? Well, don't worry. I'll clean up my mess. I'll clean up any mess that happens. I've gotten pretty good at Tita herding. But you just go ahead and introduce those two crazy kids, and I'll make sure nothing blows up. Yeah, thanks. We count on you for that. Is his sister dead? They're gonna visit the graveyard? We'll have to figure out next time I stream. I'll be streaming this on Thursday. We'll see then. We're gonna finish his airship. Call her, because I feel my brain starting to telling me it's time to have some sleepy sleep. Estelle, out for a walk again. More or less. More importantly, I'm sorry. I didn't really open up about Joshua until the very end. Don't worry. Still, that girl with Joshua is one of the Sky Bandits, isn't he? Or isn't she? Yeah, she's a cheeky, insulting little punk by the name of Josette Capua. She's also the single biggest tomboy I've ever laid eyes on, and people call me a tomboy sometimes. I see. She does seem a bit charming from the photograph. She'd be pretty cute if she keeps her mouth shut. But she did manage to play a perfect upper crust girl when we first met her, too. I'm sorry? Estelle explained how she first met Josette at the mayor's residence in Roland. So yes. Well, we're gonna have to see. I see. It's okay. This is an anime game, Salamanders. You probably already know all the tropes as they come along. That is impressively dexterous, if I may say so. That does make sense, since she's apparently former Erebonian nobility. Putting on a face like that is her specialty, I think. Peel away the layers, though, and like I said, at the core, she's a cheeky, classless little punk. Still, from what I've heard, I can't really find cause to hate her. I suspect that if we found a chance to talk, we might have quite a lot in common. Yeah, I can't see that happening. We'll slide off each other like oil and water. Our personalities wouldn't fit together, trust me. Maybe. And ends in Big Z. Oh, Estelle, good work this time. You're really growing as a bracer. I'm still kind of a newbie, I think. Like, I'm not even remotely as good as with the staff as Dad. Well, I don't think you should worry about Master Cassius much. It has to make bracers and master the profession to agree that they attain the unity of purpose all martial artists seek, after all. To be honest, I don't think I could attain such enlightenment even if I spent my whole life trying. I see. I gotta admit, it's kind of hard for me to understand how incredible my dad is, but... Actually, Zin, you mentioned the whole unity of purpose idea to Chloe back at the castle. But what exactly does that mean? Yeah, I did. It's kind of tough to explain, to be honest. Oh, here goes. Master Cassius was once such a transcendent master of the sword, he was given the title of Divine Blade. Today, though, he can wield a staff just as easily as a sword he spent his life training with. Why do you think that is? He practiced really hard? That's part of it, sure. Not more than that, it is because he could instantly understand and relate the nature of staff combat to his previous experience. Something beyond what we call skill, above practicing forms and reflexes, above muscle memory. Thinking of it as a mental state where one can grasp the true nature of all things and control them at will, also known as Ultra Instinct. This reminds me of when Roddy Piper. I know his kids, that's surprised you have kids, he looks so orange, says, nah, not anymore, man. Not anymore. Fellow concepts are referred to as Ultra Instinct, or sorry, Unity of Purpose. The true nature of all things, huh? His plan was to push back the Imperial Army during your war was the same, I bet. He understood the nature of war, of combat, so intrinsically, so instinctively, that he was able to construct the plan he did. There'd be no one more fearsome as a foe. I get it, I think. But that means that even my supposedly enlightened dad was beaten in some ways by the society. During the coup, he was lured out of the country for starters. Yeah, they almost certainly possess someone equal to Master Cassius. It's hard to know if it's whoever Louve or this professor, though. Could it be the guy we know as Lawrence? He was pretty powerful. I don't know. He is incredibly skilled, sure, but I doubt he could match up to Master Cassius. Besides, his chi, his soul, they did not have unity of purpose, not in the way I have spoken of. He's a blade sharpened in one specific way by the coldest frost, tempered to perfection, untouched by anyone. That is the sense I got of him in the arena, at least. Yeah, I get what you mean. He hasn't shown himself, but I figure he's gotta be up to something. He did seem to have some kind of fixation on Joshua. Wouldn't surprise you if they knew each other from Joshua's days in the society. Between him, me, and Sherazard, we've all got some strange ties in our past to this group. I wonder if this is the guidance of she who dwells above. Sedzin. Thank you for flying with us today. We will be arriving in Bo shortly. Please be aware that there may be turbulence while landing, so we ask that all passengers take their seats. Thank you for flying with Liberal Airlines. Alrighty, boss. Nice island music. Place to save too. Everyone, hello! Good work out there in Roland. Ah, the Silver Streak, the Heavy Blade, the Immovable, and our Rising Star Rookie all together. Brings a tear to my eye, it does. Rising Star Rookie? You, of course. You're our little walking miracle who's managed to stop the society in 4 different regions. That's been the gossip anyway. You've gotta be kidding. Saying I stopped anything is overstaying it more than a little. You just ran off once their experiments were done. You did handle yourself well in the Roland case, Estelle. Don't sell yourself too short. I think you can be a little bit proud. Yeah, but that was just a bunch of coincidences coming together, and no need to get him so embarrassed. You just need to live up to your reputation is all. Yeah, thanks, Zen. You make that sound like a cakewalk. Anyway, all that aside, what's the situation like here at Bose? There's been no sign of society whatsoever. No surprises, I suppose, since the Sky Bandits were caught. They've always been patrolling the region pretty heavily. One thing sticks out, though. There've been a few too many dangerous monsters prowling around here these days. Really? You know, I noticed that the last time I was here. Bows seems to usually have more wanted monsters in other regions. Why is that? Most of it comes down to Bows being huge and filled with rough terrain. Makes it common to see monsters come down from less inhabited areas. Thing is, though, we've had 10 cases just since the beginning of the month. 10? It is a lot. I'm guessing that's kept Sting and the rest of the crew busy. Yes, and Kurt's team stopped by the other day to slay several of them. Being you're dead if you can take care of a few of them for us as well. That strikes me as a good course of action. It's possible the society is involved with this. Yeah, and they could hurt someone if we just leave them alone, so we should get out there and take them down. Huh? Agate, what's wrong? Yeah, what's up? You're really quiet. Ah, it's nothing. Anyway, let's get out there and bring back some monster heads. Pardon me. Mayor Maybell and Lila. Good day. Estelle, it's so good to see you again. I'm glad to see you are well. Wow, it's seriously been forever. I think we last met at the Queen's birthday celebrations, right? Yes, it feels as though it's been ages. I've been hearing all about your exploits in the news, though, Estelle. That goes for everyone else as well. I'm glad to see you all safe. Especially you, Chloe. Are you on school break already? I ended up taking a little time off early. It's good to see you again, Maybell. You two seem pretty familiar. Well, Maybell used to be a student at the academy. We met before she graduated. And I'm certainly glad we met too. I see. And Agate Krosner. It has been some time, sir. Suppose so. Hang on, Agate, Mayor Maybell, you know each other? Oh my, yes. I've relied on Mr. Krosner a number of times for various jobs only he could do. And 10 years ago. Hey, Mayor. I forgot myself, pardon me. Regardless, I simply wish to stop by today to welcome you back. From the sound of things, you're pursuing an international crime syndicate which threatens the safety of the entire country. Only 40 minutes until 2 hours, not that I can play. Listen. We'll wait the 2 hour mark. Promise. They always say, don't make promises you can't keep. That's what I intend to keep. I'm gonna try anyway. An international criminal syndicate. Sometimes they feel more like a society of supervillains, but that's one way to think of them, yes. So far as the city of Bose is concerned, the threat these criminals pose is not someone else's problem. It's everyone's. If I could do anything to assist you in your investigation, anything at all, you'll only need to ask. Thanks. If we need help, we'll definitely ask. I'll be expecting a lot from you, Mayor. Excellent. I'm afraid I must excuse myself here. Should anything come up, please come visit me at my residence. Pardon us. Good to go. Come on, Agate. Could you have been a little more civil? That's who I am. We ain't running a butler service here. Give me a break. Agate can be kind of arrogant to people sometimes. He's usually polite towards clients, though. You were kind of short with the mayor, Agate. You're imagining things. More to the point, I remember talking about us bringing back some monster heads. Lugren, give us the breakdown. Right, we have 3 cases outstanding. First is a Blade Fang stalking around in the Crony Pass. We've also got a Ghost Epitaph in the Nebel Valley. And finally an Octobone raising hell at the Emerald Tower. Okay, got those written down. Alright, monster slaying's the perfect task of my greatsword. Let me take in charge this time around. Huh? Well, you are a Bose native, my good heavy blade. You're probably the best suited out of all of us. I have no objections. Decided then. Go ahead and pick us a team, Estelle. You're being suspiciously gung-ho about this, you know. Alrighty. For Olivier for his cloak. Take, we're gonna take Tita. I don't like having Olivier around Tita, but Tita is pretty attached to Agate, so probably best to keep her around for narrative purposes. Okay, so, if we're going all over the region to find these wanted monsters, since we're out, why don't we stop at Ravening Village? Yeah. Why are you looking at me like you're expecting something? E? I do want to go see your hometown, Agate. You not want to? Not right now, no. We need to settle our current jobs first, including hunting these monsters. I'm feeling Claude. Come on, Tita's here. Would it literally make your head catch fire to be nice for once? The hell do you even... Estelle, it's okay, really. It's only normal that we should put work first. Agate, I'm sorry for prodding you. Nah. You know, I'll definitely take you once things have settled down a bit. Agate will keep Tita safe from that horrible man. He's got a big ass sword, cut him right in half. Just be a good girl for now, short stuff. Okay. We'll go see what we have for next time. Okay, so these are the story missions. Let me also know this. Ambassador Kranig's medal. Embassy. Okay. Missing lady. Lady's gone missing. Please find her immediately. Arrest flavor. That is a lot. Okay. Okie doke. Well then, we have made it to Bose. That's probably a good place to stop. I beat the 2-hour countdown. And then next time, on Thursday, we will continue this game. We might see the end of the chapter. We might, if I start early enough, I guess would be the main thing. Tomorrow night, as far as I know, is still co-op night with Alice. We're going to be starting a new game. I still have to go over what we're gonna check out. But thank you guys so much for coming to watch. I hope you enjoyed seeing that chapter. That was Shira's chapter, and it's probably pretty obvious we're kind of following a formula here. This is gonna be the Agate chapter. So, quite enjoying running through these games. Now. Excited to meet Agate's dead sister. It is dark. Yes, we will see her grave next time. Yes. As always, take care and farewell.